Welcome to the December 10th Select Board meeting. Call the meeting to order. All
Motion.
members are present. Sam is present through Zoom. All the other members are present in person. First order of business is to approve the minutes of October 15th.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Motion to approve the minutes of November 7th?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Both minutes are approved. Next item of business was 3A is questions and answers with the officer on the cannabis policy. He originally was scheduled to be here but had a conflict, so we're going to table that discussion and reschedule that for when we can get him back in here to have that so that he can answer questions for us. Any objection? Next topic is discussion of the municipal fiber contract. Sue?
Well, in your packet, and I apologize for the lateness of getting the full one to you this afternoon, but there is the municipal fiber contract as well as the fiber agreement and a map of the ring, etc. One caveat to this is that our attorney hasn't reviewed it as yet. So as I would make any changes that you folks would request tonight and then send it to the attorneys, and then it would be ready to be signed, but it's not ready to be signed tonight. And I believe Andrew Davis is here, and he is, and is here to answer any questions or give you information if you need.
Questions?
I wouldn't mind having an explanation of the layout off in Main Street on, you have solar panels there, and
Sure.
so just there wasn't a whole lot to
Yep.
describe what was going
Why don't I
on.
give you guys a quick update on the site plan? Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. 1 second to hit share so you guys can see the screen and the public can see the screen. Are you guys all able to see? Okay. So since we met last, we've worked extensively with the fire chief and your code enforcement officer to design the location for facilities and where that equipment will be located. We had discussed with the board before co-locating some equipment at the Raymond Fire Station to allow the best reliable service on the ring. So if it's okay, I'll show where that is, and then I think you had a question you said about Main Street. Were you referring to the fire stations?
Yes.
Okay, so on here, the primary facility is equipment that's located here. We've done our best to sort of try to tuck this into the natural aesthetics of the property. There's an existing clearing, no major deciduous trees here. We would tuck the equipment, the propane tank, the generator in here. There's an underground conduit to the first new private utility pole that's placed here at the intersection, coming from Main Street, which is fiber from 2 directions. And then at the pole 508 going north on Roosevelt Trail, there's another utility pole placed with a utility conduit coming back. In discussing with the fire chief the various options for reliable power, we always prefer to provide what's called a 2N redundant power system. So we obviously can't get 2 power grids in this location. So we both have a power grid, and then, for example, in Sebago, we actually placed 2 generator systems, completely independent of each other. To reduce that impact here, there's actually a good location for solar. So we worked with the chief to look at placing solar panels in a small area here in the future that would go through the full planning board. We believe discussion with the code enforcement would be a planning board staff level site plan review, which is still pending. You are not in any way approving that. That's still under the review of the permitting. But that's what the second box you see on the property is, proposals to place a small amount of solar there, so that along with the batteries that go with that would provide one of the 2 backup power systems, the other being a small generator.
And the small generator being that small square again, down towards the end of the
So
driveway?
this is the detail engineering
Oh,
of that.
okay.
So there's a 1,000-gallon tank. There's a small, we reduced the size of this building to be a 6x6 building. There are also, as we went through, which turned out to be very good in the end, what we found in the last week, and I should apologize, the delays in you getting the materials actually on our fault. We were later getting them to sue than planned. Our surveyors, Sebago Technics, last week found that the town does not actually own all of the land directly down here. If you see on the site plan drawing, it shows the apparent former limited right-of-way. The road, the state right-of-way used to go through here like this, and then their review of the property records so far shows that the state has handed over sort of the chunk that's down here, but there's a small slither right here, right near where we're going to build, where it's not clear if the state handed that property over to Raymond or not. To be safe, working with your code enforcement officer, Mr. Hanson, and discussing this, we worked to make sure that everything was was set back a full 25 feet from the front of the setback. We actually took the whole design here. We initially had done this as like a 20 feet by 25 feet deep. We ended up rotating that whole area, relaying everything out this week, and then having to actually go from what we'd already marked in the field after we did on the plans. We sent the surveyors back to reestablish markers in the field to replace the ones we had previously done after adjusting all of this. So my apologies for Sue receiving that late. That was on us. After we found this and in consultation with the code enforcement officer, it was going to be much cleaner for us to make the changes on our side to make sure it's 100% on the town's property and nothing is placed on the former state right-of-way, which may still be a state right-of-way in some areas.
I have a question on the solar. That's your redundancy for your backup in case the generator fails? Or
one of two, yes. So the benefit of the solar being that it can run for a much longer period of time, but we have two systems, a pure battery-based solar system, and then parallel to that is a generator.
Okay, so there are banks there. It's not just...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can see that here on this drawing, which there's a separate outside battery cabinet for the solar system, which is isolated from the building. We reviewed this with the fire chief as well, because the goal is we don't want to have batteries inside of the building with equipment. That's the only real fire risk. So both the batteries and the generator set back the appropriate distances from the building and the appropriate distance from the propane tank as well.
And if the solar panel doesn't go through, you just put in a secondary generator?
Yes. That is the layout as you see it, sir.
And when this is all said and done, who will own this equipment, the town of Raymond?
No, Sebago Fiber does. So in the structure of the fiber agreement, the town is purchasing an IRU, or irreversible right of use, of the 12 fibers within the fiber network connecting your buildings. Sebago Fiber owns the overall network, and we own this equipment.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out when I was reading. It was kind of Greek.
Yeah, the IRU is a sort of standard practice in the telecom industry that you guys have the right to use that fiber. You don't have to use it with us. You own that fiber, and if you decide you want Charter, Consolidated, First Light, or another company to use it in some way for you, you have the right to do that. Or you can, as planned right now, the town's IT department can light it up themselves.
One more question. I'm really intrigued by the whole circuit. I listened to Kevin present it a couple times. Is this going to be enough if you start to tie in neighborhoods and you actually start to expand it within our town?
Yes.
Or will you have to add to it?
Nope. So the core. So this is the ring that we're refusing
down the streets.
Yes.
Yeah. So the core ring here, this is one of the fiber cables we put in this area. The town will own about 12 fibers in this bundle. This cable we put in will probably actually be much larger, right, at least 144 to 216. And as we've done the high-level design for the whole town, as we build this portion, it's sized for support the whole town. And then we'll plan to build it in the phases. We've seen continued interest in Raymond. We'll give you an update at a future meeting as to where our phase plan looks like. But right now, the phase one is definitive we'd be building. And then we've been looking at, based on their responses, we'd be accelerating the phase two pretty aggressively. We are actually ahead. We've moved very quickly in building in Sebago. That project was going to go till July. We've accelerated that build up and are hoping to finish it, the main construction, in February. So then we'd like to move into here very quickly.
And I really wasn't referring to the cables. I was talking about these buildings and solar panels or generators.
Yeah, so
that'll be enough for whatever you do in our community.
Yes, that's sized to support Raymond and Casco, and a portion down to the south of you, and a portion extending outside your community. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's the building is smaller than we placed in the town of Sebago, but there's enough space in the racks there to support what we need to support for basically the 12 mile radius around here, where we'll be serving for GPON and further.
That's the questions I had after looking at it. Thank you.
Other questions? So what I would suggest is we authorize Sue to finalize the contract and sign the contract.
I'll make a motion to do just that.
After the attorney review.
Yep.
Yes.
Moved and seconded. Other discussion? All those in favor?
Oops. Sam, we can't see you. Would you mind saying aye instead of or nay?
Sam?
You're muted.
Can you take that off the screen? We're all done
Yeah,
with
if
it.
you unshare, then it'll probably, there we go.
We lost Sam.
We lost.
Oh, yeah,
No, he's up,
He's up in the corner, but
top left.
but it looks different than it did.
Yeah.
So I think we lost it, but you have a quorum anyway.
Okay,
there he is.
so the motion is carried. Okay, next item, consideration of issuance of tax abatements. Kurt?
Thank you.
Hello, Kurt LaBelle, Assessor's Agent for the Town of Raymond. I have a couple of administrative items I'm asking the board to act on to correct some errors that were made by us involving a couple of tax assessments. First, tax abatement is personal property account to Elevon Incorporated in the amount of $6.88. The company had reported to us that their assets were disposed of prior to the assessment date, and we made a mistake and didn't deactivate the account and made the assessment anyway. And they followed up and let me know that that had happened, and I told them that we would take care of that. The second abatement is an abatement to Orbit Properties LLC. This involves the property that's down on 302. It's the muffler shop and the brake, the two
Tire-
commercial
and-
auto repair shops.
Tire warehouse.
And, yeah, tire warehouse. And in behind that, there's a residential home. And the owner of the property, Flanagan Properties, divided the lot, divided out the residential home from the commercial properties by conveying it to another LLC that he's involved in called Orbit Properties. And we made a mistake and processed the entire transfer as a sale for the entire property. So the remedy for that is to back out the assessment in full to Orbit Properties on the entire lot because it's the incorrect person, and then issue two new tax assessments, one to Flanagan for the commercial lot and one to Orbit for the residential lot.
Do you want two
And,
separate?
Well,
motions?
there'll be, so the first motion is going to be on Evelyn.
Right. For $6.88.
So you're
Yes.
making that motion?
Yes, so motion to approve the tax amount of the abatement, $6.88 to Evelyn.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve the second abatement to Orbit Properties in the amount of $10,380.20.
Second?
And that one, I think. I
Discussion?
signed.
All those in favor?
Yeah, I do.
Motion is carried. Then you need the two motions on the supplemental tax.
A motion to approve the supplemental tax warrant on it's $10,536.72. On Title 36, Section 113, but I'm not seeing a name. Sorry.
Flanagan's Properties and Orbit Properties still, isn't it?
Yeah, Flanagan Properties in the amount of
$8,600.
$8,677.40, and Orbit Properties in the amount of $1,859.32.
That's not what I have on here, on these. This one has 10,536.
That was one
No, that's the
before,
other
That was,
one.
that was, that was, the-
Right.
that was
That's the one we just-
that was
that's
the
the-
abatement.
the previous one.
No, I know that I gave that to you, but he says the supplemental
The
ones.
supplementals are,
Yeah, that's this one.
Yeah, but what it's saying, it's not saying on here who
gotta
it's
go-
for.
It's on this, is what I'm saying.
no, no.
No,
can
it's a
make a
different one.
motion.
Oh, one minute.
No, that was,
No, that's the right one.
Yep, 688 on this one.
10,536.
Okay, so that's a supplement on this one. The
Yep.
688 then is not on this one then.
Right.
No, it's,
It's on a different one.
Right.
we made a motion for that.
What's
just
the,
previous.
No, I know. What
What's
happens
the-
is there's one paper here that we vote, but then there's another one that we have
Oh.
to
they
sign.
have the supplemental.
Oh,
Yes, that's what,
Wow.
yes. So that's what I'm trying to make sure on that one. So, all right, so then this supplemental tax warrant then would still be on, no, that's,
they're all under one, there's two listed, but it's under one warrant.
Yeah.
right,
So the warrants should have the total
yeah.
amount.
okay, so you just
but
need
the
a,
certificate has the listed,
It's
has them listed out individually.
okay, so then you need a motion to approve the supplemental tax warrant for the $10,536.72.
Right.
Yep.
But then what would be this one then? That doesn't have, just as what
Does that one
page?
say certificate?
Yep,
That goes with it. So the warrant is a warrant to the collector to go get the tax, and the certificate is an amendment to the valuation book, which
Okay.
says that on X page, which is the third page, that those are ones that are to be added to the book. So you get two
Accounting.
forms.
okay, so I've already got a motion, so I need a second on that.
Second.
Okay,
Discussion?
We have it.
All those in favor?
you already figured that one out. Sorry. All right, and then the other one is a motion to approve the supplemental tax certificate on the same abatements.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried.
So now you guys can, oh, you guys didn't sign that.
Next,
All right, that's yours.
That one's done.
next item is consideration of Parks and Recs renting of the Raymond Village Community Church.
Did you want to skip the update on the?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, sorry. Update on the revaluation project. Kurt?
Just put it until the end. It'll be fine.
So, so KRT, the company that we've contracted with to conduct the revaluation, they're ready to begin the project. Most of the next 6 months will be data collection. It'll be fairly steady and slow through the winter months, and then I expect it will pick up. They'll add staff in the spring. So they're going to be starting up, I would say, sometime this month. They haven't told me where they plan to start, but in my discussions with them, what I'm expecting is they'll probably start in the north end of town and save the waterfront and more seasonal areas for summertime, when they're more likely to actually see the people when they're there. Prior to moving into a particular area of town, residents will receive a postcard in the mail from KRT letting them know that some point in the next month or so they will be coming to their property. Because there are so many properties to be visited, they're not able to schedule advance appointments on this first pass, so they'll be going right down the street, going to every home. If someone is home, they will, knock on the door and they will identify themselves, and they'll have an identification from KRT and from the town. They'll ask to do an interior inspection. We ask that, homeowners allow them to do that if it's reasonable at that time for them. It'll allow the data to be collected to be more accurate. They'll get a more accurate appraisal in the end. If there is no one home, they'll remeasure all the exterior buildings, make note that there was no one home, and later on in the project, in likely the spring of next year, those folks will get a letter asking them to make an appointment, and they will conduct appointments on, they'll do it on an appointment basis. We are going to have a press release for the Roadrunner this month, which will let people know. We're going to activate a revaluation page on our own website that will also link to KRT's site. We have already we have information on the 3 data collectors that KRT will likely have here initially. So we have their photo and their vehicle information, which will be available on the website. We've also provided that to the sheriff's office, and we're going to let residents know that if they have any doubt when someone arrives that, they are who they say they are, they're welcome to call Town Hall or the sheriff's office, and they can validate that information. But they will be starting. One of the things I've noticed quite a bit in other towns is most towns have a Facebook community, an informal Facebook community page. A lot of people have cameras around their homes, and they're not necessarily used to somebody driving in and kind of poking around their house when they're not there. And so I've seen in other towns there's been a lot of traffic on those Facebook sites where people, who is this? Who's going around my house? So, we'll do our best to get the word out. We'll put something out on our Facebook page. This part of the process will go on for several months. I expect I'll probably start out giving the board quarterly updates, let you know where we're at in terms of progress on the project. When we reach milestones, such as finishing data collection, starting to look at valuation modeling, or the field appraisals, we'll have meetings where we'll bring in KRT in, who can give better updates on that and where we're at. I think that is pretty much it.
How are they handling no trespassing properties?
If a property's marked no trespassing, they won't enter the property. They will mark that down and follow up with a letter later on in the process. So some people, I believe, when you get your postcard, there'll be phone number on there to contact KRT. They won't make an appointment, but if you're someone who's adamant that you do not even want anybody on the property, the residents are welcome to contact KRT directly. They'll make note of that, so that they will do their best not to, go into a situation where they're definitely not wanted.
Yeah. I'm thinking of their safety too. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a provision at all that they have as a fallback to drone in?
Oh, that's a good point.
We haven't addressed droning. We do have, they're going to be using the data that we already have, so they're not going in blind.
Right.
If they aren't able to access a property initially, and then in the spring of 26, they're unable to gain an appointment, the appraisal will be done based on the best information that they have, whether they derive that information from the internet or however they derive it. I don't think droning is something that we're going to be looking to do. There's probably some privacy concerns there as well in terms of flying over people's properties and things like that. Ultimately, the third thing that could happen is we make an estimate. There will be a hearing period, and if someone still, for whatever reason, has not had their property inspected, looks at their property card and realizes that there's errors, they will have an opportunity before taxes are issued to get those remedied with KRT. So there'll be multiple points along the way where property owners can make sure that the information that KRT has is correct.
Questions?
Seems to me that when I read your literature that it would be, looks like about 18 months, maybe even longer, before the double checking and all the questions and answers are done before a person would know what their house is now appraised at.
Yeah, I expect probably around June of 2026. So data collection will probably be the primary thing that's getting done through fall of 25. And then in the fall of 25, they'll have a year, 15 months of sales data. They'll start to compile models. In the winter of 25 into 26, the field appraisers will go out and visit every property again. They won't be knocking on doors. They'll be using the information that the data collectors have provided. They'll already have a model in place that works with the properties that have actually sold, and then they'll be looking to apply that model to each property as they revisit each property. So it'll be spring of 26 when that happens. We'll have an opportunity to review all the values, give a final yay or nay, address any issues that the town has, and then around June 26, preliminary values will go out. We'll have hearings probably through the month of August, and if all goes well, we'll make a timely commitment in September, mid-September of 26.
Yeah, I think you answered the second question, which is they'll get a notice right after that, which would be in the June period. And then they'd get a letter saying this is what we found.
Yep.
And then there's an appeals process that will be in that letter, dating when you'll start to have the hearings.
Yeah, I think typically what happens is the letter itself is just going to have the valuation. This is where we believe your property is valued at. But the information on each property will be available either at the town office or through our website. So when someone receives their value, they can then go on and look at the property card and see how that value was derived. If they see errors or they have issues or questions about the valuation, that's when they go to the informal hearings. Those are done before commitment. It's a chance to clean up a lot of things that, lot size, or I have wetlands on my property, did you account for that? Or this measurement's not right. These things more of that we can clean up before tax bills go out, the better. Because once we issue the tax bills, then we're into a formal appeal process.
And that brings me to the last question, which is probably not the last question, but the bill in October will reflect it, or the bill that goes out in October will say what to expect in April. You understand where I'm going?
The tax bill in September of 2026 will have the new value and whatever the new tax rate is.
Okay, that's where I was going with it.
That's when you get the surprise.
I've had it before.
Yep.
It's very similar to when Vision did it.
Yeah.
Vision, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the things could change. Right now, our assessments are running 45% of market value.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it's not going to be unreasonable to expect the overall valuation of the town to double, depending on where the budgets are at that time. If it were the same budget and it was flat and you have twice as much value, you're going to have a tax rate that's going to basically go in half. That's going to be applied onto the new value. And what ends up happening is if our average is 45%, if your assessment under the old system was lower than 45%, you have further to go to get to full value. You're probably going to see a tax increase out of that. If it was right around for the same ratio as our average, you may not be impacted at all by the revaluation. And then if your current assessment is higher than our average, those folks tend to see reductions. It's a reshuffle of the apportionment of the tax. And the sales, we'll have to see what happens over the next few years, what we get for market activity.
Thank you. I think we've seen what's going on with sales.
Yeah.
But thank you. You did a great job.
Sean McKill, Budget Finance Committee. Interior evaluation sounds highly irregular. Is this something new? I've never heard of an appraiser going in and looking at the interior. And what are they looking for? Granite counters versus, carpets and wood flooring? Like, what is it? 'Cause I couldn't imagine them doing an in-depth thing to really nail down a value.
Yeah, so the data collectors themselves are not going to be applying value to your home. They're basically taking down information such as what's your bedroom, bathroom count, what kind of heat do you have, what kind of flooring do you have, any unique components of the property. Interior inspections are pretty much standard with property revaluations. We attempt to get a full inspection in, anytime we can, because otherwise we have to guess.
They did that last time, Sean. They went through everything, and I went, they lowered my land value, but they went inside the house, and I had done some custom trim, and they marked down custom trim, and it's a way to get the quality of your house, if you will.
Hi, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. If memory serves me, Kurt, the last time my house was revalued, the interior inspection was optional.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the interior inspection is always optional, because if you're a homeowner, you have the right to deny access if you wish to do so. So there's always the option of the homeowner to say no. There's a couple things, though, that could happen. Obviously, the assessment has to be made, whether they get access to the property or not. So they're going to make the best estimate that they can. If the homeowner is unhappy with the results of or wants to challenge their appraisal, at some point, if it becomes a formal appeal, a request is going to be made by the town to inspect the property. It's hard to imagine the town reducing the value of a property without having actually done a full inspection on it. So that, taxpayers can expect that at some point, if they intend to challenge their assessment, the town's going to want to see the full property. But you can do what you want. It's your property.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good point.
Other questions? Thanks, Kurt. Next item is consideration of Parks and Recreation renting the Raymond Village Community Church. Joe.
Hello, everyone. Joe Crocker, Raymond Parks and Rec Director. I'll briefly just kind of go over the proposal for use of the Raymond Village Community Church for Parks and Recreation and age-friendly Raymond programs. First initial assessment is the space and the facilities. This will allow us 3 office spaces, one for age-friendly Raymond coordinator, the Parks and Recreation Director, and the Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. It also has 3 activity rooms that probably can house probably comfortably 10 to 20 people. Those can also be called like breakout rooms. The vestry, which is the main area when you walk in the bottom of the church, it's probably like the main function area as a kitchen. You can comfortably fit probably 40, 50 people with tables, and have dinners and potlucks and stuff like that. Few of the things with the assessment is probably some compliance needs. Right now it's under the church, so they don't have to allow for ADA standards right now, but a couple of the bathrooms are pretty small. You would not be able to get a walker in there. Definitely, if this ever changes hands, we would have to address that issue right away for Parks and Recreation use. This is our soft timeline as of right now, December, January. We've launched a few programs already. We've done an age-friendly event where we have all-age bingo, so grandparents can bring their children, their grandchildren. Parents and children also have gone. Huge success. We had probably about 30 the first time and 20, 25 the second time. We also are going to, we're launching currently some special events for winter. Kids Night Out, an elf workshop, and gingerbread making. Probably by February, we'd want a long-standing MOU signed by RVCC, the church. They are currently looking to merge with North Windham, so they'll probably know a little bit more in the next couple months. Probably by March, we'd like to fully be operating out of that church before we hit spring and summer, which is our busiest time for Parks and Rec. Some of the other spaces, would be kind of the outside. When touring the facility, Public Works Director Nathan White had a good idea of possibly putting the playground where the parking is set back near the retaining wall. If we move that back, we could probably get a playground in there, with some wood chips and a nice little breakout space for outdoor. That could also be used for after-school programming, or in the summer maybe a teen camp or another home base. So definitely a lot of potential for that building. I'd say kind of run through the budget of this. This is just ideas flowing. This isn't necessarily what I need right away, but some of the costs that could be associated with this move into this location. Right now, I think we have some Wi-Fi access. If we want to have 3 office spaces in there and move Debbie Tar, the age-friendly coordinator, in there, we probably want to set up some phone system or computers from Kevin's IT department. I think for the short term, we could just access Wi-Fi, but I know if we move there permanently, that's the projected cost that Kevin has given us. The other piece of this is the office equipment. Probably needs some update with the painting. There's some brightly colored rooms. Not my first choice, but definitely was there for different uses, but we probably want to get a nice neutral paint coordination in there. There's probably some other facility upgrades, renovations that we like to do inside. Some equipment, if the tables and chairs are taken to North Wyndham or used elsewhere, we'd probably want to get our own set, a nice portable set, sturdy set, so we can have functions in there and have them stored away. So roughly the annual operating cost, this is negotiable, but originally probably want to cover utilities there. It's really takes a lot of heating to heat that building, so we definitely want to pay rent while RVCC is letting us rent out this place to help with the cost of it. So roughly, I think we started negotiation at $1,500 per month. Another one, this could be pushed to the budget cycle, but moving Debbie Tar, the age-friendly coordinator under Parks and Recreation, I think that would better set us up to streamline some of our policies, procedures, and staff to help better support her and the seniors in town. So that's something that we would want to look to move into RVCC with. Also, given some supplies for age-friendly in our Parks and Rec budget. There's also, we would probably want to increase our projects and maintenance line under Parks and Rec. The biggest part of this would be, part that needs to be discussed, is we've allocated, with Public Works, $100,000 for a upgrade at District 1 right now. That's off 47 Main Street, where my office and Riley are currently housed. Continuously, that project's gone, we've made some cuts, and it continues to, with the cost of everything, kind of be exorbitant and not logical to really build a office in one of those bays and take up storage, truck storage for Public Works and everything like that. So the thought would be to reallocate a portion of that towards Raymond Village Community Church for some upgrades and some of the needs to get that building ready for Parks and Rec and kind of a community center. So that's the general process that we're working through and thinking about. Is there any questions on that?
Joe and Nathan won't be crammed in one little room anymore. They'll have some elbow room.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. How did it all start? How historically did this happen? I know that we were talking about District 1, and I just saw this for the first time Friday night, or actually Saturday.
Yeah, Pastor Brian reached out actually to us. We were currently looking to host an all-age bingo. We tried it at Jordan Bay. It's too small. Could maybe fit 8 comfortably in that one room, and we had to kind of separate. So
What is Jordan Bay? Where is that?
what's that? That's
Right at the bottom of 85.
behind Good Life. It's that
Assisted
Oh, okay,
senior
okay.
citizen.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Retirement.
So
Yeah.
Pastor Brian reached out, and we said, "Well, we'll try doing it there." And it was nice. We could have comfortably 30 people.
Wow.
Prizes, some snacks. laid
Have you
out.
done one there? You said
What's that?
you've done one there. You said, or
We've
you?
done 2 so far. Yeah.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. So that was a start, and then we asked to, since Riley still doesn't have an office right now or a place to go, we kind of threw it out there if we could use some of these rooms for a temporary office until Jordan's small.
So you wouldn't be doing remodeling until such time as there's a lease aside, or whether you're going to do a lease with option to buy? I mean, it's
Correct.
not a town building, it's a church, so,
Right. It'd be
you know,
kind of-
spending our tax money to fix up someone else's place, you wouldn't do any of that. You just use it until you figured it all out.
Yeah, the only thing right now would probably be paint, but everything else would be probably phased in once we know exactly what the church is going to do and the future of that facility. So yeah, no major upgrades.
Did he show
Rents,
any interest in selling it to you, to us as a town?
Yep.
Oh, that's
I think
interesting.
it's definitely in the works right now. They're finishing. They want to finish that merger first, and then once that merger goes through and they have a good idea, then it's been talked about.
I would be very comfortable with putting money into a building we owned, a lot more than
Yes.
putting money into a building we didn't own.
Correct.
That's for sure. So what are you talking about, just renting it for a while to get the programs up and running?
Yeah.
So one of the things I guess I like to say, I don't know if anybody else has seen Deb's newsletter. I was so excited for you, Deb. There was so much enthusiasm and excitement in your newsletter that just came out. She has just kind of taken on Age Friendly as a volunteer, and she is, the idea is it's pulling in another aspect of town that we are getting everybody involved in right now, which is awesome. And so she goes out there, and she's got the school-age kids involved too with working
We
with
went
the.
to Raymond Elementary today. The seniors went, and we played with the 4th graders and first graders.
Deb,
They-
wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, they can't hear you. Yeah, we want everybody to hear you. Yeah, go up there.
The folks on Zoom can't hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, shucks. Yes, today we took the Raymond van up to Raymond Elementary School with the seniors, and we met with Mrs. Brackett's class, and they played games, and they had made Christmas bookmarks, gave them to them. And then next week we're going to meet with Mrs. Doyle's class because we had so many people that wanted to write letters that we adopted the other 4th grade class. So we'll do that next, and then the Raymond van will take us up to that one. And I was able to contact the 1st grade teachers who have been making pictures, and I just put up paper chains around the senior housing. So they came in, they sang a couple songs and kind of walked through and waved to them. They just loved it. So.
And this is huge, especially through the winter. You know what I mean? When there's not a lot for these guys to do, and not meeting different people, and it gets people out. And yeah, thank you, Deb, for.
So is it just Jordan Bay though?
No.
Oh,
This is the church. They're going to do all the work in it.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just that place you're saying?
Well, she's also inviting other people to other things, is what
No, I
it
meant
is.
the-
Oh, sorry.
No,
They had a bus and they were transporting out.
Yes,
some of the
picked them
others.
up at
Picked 'em up at-
Jordan Bay,
Gotcha.
the Vesta location, and then
Oh, that's cool.
we shuttle them to RES and then pick them back up, shuttle them back.
Well, and the other thing that Deb's done too is she's getting that. The issue we had with the bus before is, certain people couldn't get down to the bus stop. And Deb is taking them out to their doctor's appointments, to shopping, to all kinds of things right now. And that's what people need in town, is to be able to get out to these places or have a way to get the stuff. And it's huge. It really is huge. And now bringing that on, I'm fully supportive of that, because now it's the other end, because we've got the younger kids, we've got the middle-aged kids, and yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something we haven't been able to touch with pickleball's obviously an active seniors, older people, but yeah, this has helped supporting age-friendly Raymond, and I think it hits that demographic that we haven't yet. And also, I think this building will also bring in a hub that could, you could do a lunch and learns there. You could, bring in, there's grants we can pull in also through age-friendly that can help support some of those programs and services for seniors.
Well, I think the other thing too, I would not be opposed to paint since they're letting them use it, and you want to. I absolutely understand what you're saying, and I
No
agree
problem
with
with
that.
paint.
But I think the same thing with the paint is you're making it more inviting, and with all of that.
I think what he's saying would be the same concern I have, is more of the
Oh no, I just said that.
ADU and bathrooms. That's
Right,
where the
but that's
big
why
money
I said
starts to
just
pile
paint.
up until we
Right.
have a long-term
Right.
agreement. Paint and a few of the, office supplies and
Right, exactly. But the
Technologies.
bigger things.
It's tough
yeah.
to read this, though, and I really try to. I made a commitment to read everything I did, and it drives me crazy how much stuff we've had lately. But would you just go over what these figures are and when you see them tying in? Like, you don't see putting in the $30,000 until you have an agreement. And even then, we'd have time to have a special town meeting to talk about whether
Yeah.
CIP is
Yeah.
I
appropriate,
think
right?
he said it was basic
Just the paint.
like
But it said
throwing
startup.
darts. He's just trying
We're
to.
trying to roll in something that's not. It's softly
Right.
enter in this agreement.
It says startup, that's why I was concerned.
Yeah.
These
So I
are
mean,
your quotes. You're not. These aren't subs quotes, basically, right?
no, this is. I mean, I got.
yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I got one from technology from Kevin.
Okay.
Said, hey, this what's roughly a cost if we want it set up like a town. That doesn't need to be right away. I'd say office equipment's probably something needed. I can bring my desk over. Riley needs a desk. She needs a home. And then rent would be the other one that would be probably immediate that we need to figure out. So those are the month 1 to 4 that I think we need to hit. After that, once the church kind of has a better understanding of what direction they're going in, then I think we can open the discussion of, age-friendly coordinator, age-friendly supplies, stuff like that we need to move in.
And this $100,000 you already have sort of allocated for the other upgrade. Has that already been approved, or was that a?
It's already been approved, yeah. And
It was in
that's
our
under
budget last
Nathan's
year.
budget, so.
So you would just take some of that and move it, since you're not doing that anyway. It would technically save.
I
Yeah.
think that's what I was asking. It says at the bottom, basically, you have this
Yes.
$100,000 sitting there, and we can use it for the stuff up above.
Then you wouldn't have to
And
use it at the other one.
But I'm opposed to that. Without us having a lease to buy that, we'd be putting
Yeah.
taxpayers' money into a rental property that unless they give us the money back if we don't buy it or something like that,
Yep.
to take CIP money that's the citizens have voted for, to go to a town building for renovation and move it to a church or any other building before we have a option to buy or whatever agreement, I would think you'd have to go in front of the citizens and ask if we could use money that was allocated to remodel District 1
Well,
for rent.
Are you opposed to the paint?
No.
Okay. No, because what I'm thinking is too is at least get it to where, like that soft run that they're doing, to look at it to see what the kind of people.
That's not what I'm
And
saying.
sorry,
at all.
Brent.
No. I'm not opposed. I'm not arguing with you. I guess what I'm saying is.
I think it's
in-
cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
if you could paint
get
it and start
inviting.
using it, the rent would come out of your budget, right?
Yeah, rent would come out operational, so yeah, general fund, it would have to.
So that would be fine. I mean,
It wouldn't come out of CIP.
I have absolutely no problem with taking care of both the young and the old. I'm getting up there, and I like the idea of having this program. And that's a great location, so I'm not opposed to
Yeah.
the concept. I just am uncomfortable moving CIP money until a special town meeting, which we could do easily.
And I'm not arguing with you on
Okay.
that. I was just saying what we can do is kind of slowly work in and make it inviting for people to come in.
Paint's nothing. I'll go down and help you paint.
There you go.
Sean?
Sean McKillop, Budget Finance. Can you give us a little history of, kind of like Dennis said, is this church going away, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, so my understanding of this is the congregation is merging with North Windham, the North Windham side. So they are essentially leaving that building. So they've already kind of started moving that direction. Pastor Brian's moved over to the North Windham chapter located there. So it's essentially, right now they have some light use being used, but they're not using it for services right now or an office space as currently.
So, I'm not sure about tax, I'm going to ask you a tax question. Right now, it's a nonprofit, the church.
Correct.
So it would then become a for-profit at that point,
Oh.
technically, right? Because they're charging rent.
They're going to be using it.
You technically, you
They're-
could-
Yeah.
you'd have a percentage that would, because it's still,
We got an expert.
Glad to hear.
So the church right now gets its tax exemption from a specific statute for houses of religious worship. So when they discontinue that use and they're no longer using it for that purpose, the church is going to become a taxable property. Usually when churches kind of go empty, we don't like to rub salt in the wound of, so we kind of, sometimes we'll let it ride for a little while, but I mean, at some point, especially if the property is being rented out, the church probably should plan on potentially including tax payments.
Let me ask you this, Kurt. If we said, and this is just trying to make it work, if we said that the $1,500 was to offset expensive heat, electricity, whatever it happened to be, in other words, it paid for their expense, they're not making profit then, right?
Well, that's on their accounting
It's
side.
not it's not the fact
wanna
that
get
they're a
involved in
they're not getting their exemption as a nonprofit. They're
Oh, because of
receiving
the-
their exemption
okay.
as a house of religious worship.
Okay.
So if they were going to become a nonprofit charitable organization, they would have to. That would be a different avenue.
But that's their books. We don't want to get involved in any of that. We can pay.
No, but it's
That's-
something that they should be thinking about.
Right, but that's their issue and
if their intent is to sell this, they're probably not thinking about it too much. If they're going to rent it long-term and hold the property and not use it for religious purposes, then the town would have to apply a tax to it under the statute.
Well, I think like you just said, though, too, is what's happening is they're trying to sum up on it and get it finalized, and meanwhile, we can do a soft run of it. So I'm looking at, I guess, like you said, a couple months, and we'll know more.
Does anyone know if the church is still going to be using it for anything, or is the town, with this $1,500, have the sole possession of what goes on inside that building?
2 floors.
I know, but I don't know if anyone.
No, it would be, the sanctuary still would be, the church would still be using the sanctuary. So it still would be, it would still be used as religious at that point.
Oh, so for temporarily, it'd just be the basement.
And 3 offices,
Okay.
I think it is, right?
Yeah,
3 offices.
3 offices and, so it's not the whole
Yeah.
thing.
I have had scenarios where
Because they
the
use the
church
basement
has
for other stuff.
rented out a portion of their facility, but still maintained the bulk of it,
Right.
and they've been able to preserve their exemption.
Okay.
I was envisioning a scenario where they were gone.
No, not yet.
So there's something for them to be aware of down the road.
That's important.
Yeah, I think that's a better avenue for right now.
Yeah, thank you. House of worship, I should have said nonprofit. And then lastly, like insurance, have we looked into insurances? Like, what are we looking at for that? 'Cause I don't think I saw that on
I
there.
think we'd have to add it to our insurance.
The town umbrella.
It'd be a rental policy, though.
Because you would, the town's liability would pick up for their use there.
Just add it to our policy.
Thank you.
Just add it to our policy.
It'll be a rental policy.
Boy, there's a lot of things to this.
You can't give anything away for free and hang out. Snowball.
Grace Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I just want to ask a question that doesn't have an answer yet, and that is the future use of the Jordan Small School, and trying to be sure that we're thinking really carefully about all of the facilities that will become available to the town shortly, and be sure we're thinking that through and planning before doing something like having a community center in one place where it might be better placed elsewhere, or building better suited to it. I know there's been a lot of talk about multiple uses, future uses of the Jordan Small School once that comes back to the town. So I just I'm hoping that before anything like purchasing the church, would go forward in any way, that we're really looking at the overall plan for the town in terms of what buildings become available when things move around. Again, not to speak negatively about what's needed right now, very desperately, and certainly I agree with all the positive comments about the great programs that have been started and ongoing, and it is fantastic. So I'm not trying to put, speak negatively about that. I'm just thinking ahead. That's coming pretty soon, and I'm glad to see that the discussion about that is on the agenda for later tonight. That's partly why I'm here, to kind of hear that discussion too. Just want to be sure we're thinking really carefully overall about the plan going forward for us. I wouldn't want to have something that we do this year or in the next few months impact negatively on the best use of that facility for the town going forward. Because there will be costs associated with renovating the building for various uses. Just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I don't know how many people in this audience, sure, certainly the people up front have, but I've seen Joe's office.
Me too.
Yeah. So, and
His co-office.
Yeah, exactly.
Not his own office.
And I do know that 2026 seems like a long time away. I also would applaud everything that I've heard about what's the activity, I guess I would say, over the last year that's taken place as far as acknowledging recreation, as far as acknowledging the elderly, and I would not want to throw any cold water on that effort. I would just be careful, and I would just echo the comments of Selectman Morse. You really don't want to be investing any money in something you don't own. So if it can be made usable, and there is a lease that is not extensive, then, what we would basically look for is in sometime in 2027, the people of the town are going to say, do we want that building to be a library and a town office and house recreation and the like? But that I think it'd just be premature to be thinking in terms of purchase at all, and I guess that's what just got me a little nervous. But certainly. To put you and probably Public Works into something that's not what I saw would be great, because it's just not adequate or appropriate. Thanks.
I think everybody that drove here tonight is in something bigger than your office.
So are you looking for, are they looking for support from us to say, go forward with leasing it for even if it's a short term to get started?
Yes.
I think that would be
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Ralph.
I have no problem with making a motion that we do a short-term lease and see what the church has in mind with the...
Is this a real number? Has the church reached out with a rent number, or is that?
That was roughly taking what the utilities were for the next 3 to 4 months. So oil and stuff, I think it was around 6 to 9 grand of heat. So
the rent is just to pay for that?
For right now, yeah, for the winter.
I'm going to second you.
Well, I wasn't quite done, but...
Oh, sorry.
It was...
Derek jumped in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, more questions are better. I think this is something that we're traveling into a new area, but I'd like to make a motion that we authorize a short-term lease that would be taken out of your operating budget with no more investment than the painting.
Okay.
That way it's clear to anyone who starts to question us.
I have a question.
What I would suggest in the motion is to allow Joe and our town manager to negotiate the lease.
Negotiate the lease?
Yeah.
Oh.
To finalize an agreement.
Well, I think it has to come back for the exact reason that Grace said. The long-term lease would be...
No, I'm talking the short term.
And then bring it back to us?
If we're going to go into a longer have a long-term lease, then you'd want to relook at that.
Okay. Then he would make you'd like me to make a motion to authorize Joe to negotiate a short-term lease for the use on a month-to-month basis?
I
I think that would work.
I like that. What about the money that you're going to need for that? Are we going to put a cap on that, a limit on that, where you can do a certain amount?
Is that for the paint? Is that what you're
Just for paint?
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to
think
need
he's
more
gonna
than
need
just
money for
paint.
that.
You're going to need something there, office supplies and just starting it up. But I think we should have a number so that we're not, you go spend 20 grand. All of a sudden we say, wait, we weren't really talking that much, were we?
fancy desk right there? Yeah.
But you go spend 200 and you're like, this didn't get me anything. And we're like, well, we didn't.
Well, the motion is out of his operating budget, so whatever he wants
With
to
the
do out
rent.
of his operating
But
budget.
I guess that's what we're asking.
Yeah, that's
is-
what we're trying to figure out.
Because
For
he's
just
saying
rent?
that 100,000 was already set aside to set up offices for rec at that Nathan's office is what it is. So what and I think Derek is asking too, is do you have the money in your budget to be able to do the paint and your supplies
And the rent.
and the rent? Or do you need to dip into?
I mean, right now, projects and maintenance, I think I have, $7,000. So there's no, I mean, we could get by the next 3 months, but we would probably have to hold off on, we'd probably want to get office equipment out of that, and then we'd probably want to hold off for paint, because we wouldn't know how much that is until.
So should we?
Your office equipment, essentially, you're going to own that regardless. So if
Yeah.
so if you got that, you'd take it if the lease stopped.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
that you'd take out of that 100.
Yeah.
Well, office equipment isn't part of building maintenance.
No. Startup costs.
No.
No, he was going to build.
That 100,000 that's in the CIP.
Right, for building
For the
maintenance.
maintenance, that was renovation, which would include equipment.
And that was specifically towards making them an office down there out of that Main Street.
Right. So I don't.
That'll cool off that question.
There's no paper towels in the back either.
No, I know.
I got jeans. Well, I won't question that. I think what I'm looking to do is to be clean of the CIP funds, which is capital improvement plan funds. If it's to remodel District 1, which is what I heard through the budget process, to take office equipment out of that is a different aspect. And we have a different line item for that.
If you're remodeling that, wouldn't that include desks?
I think if it's stuff we can take with us and use again, I don't see any problem taking it out of CIP for that. But if we're going to change paint, is kind of whatever. It's not really a ton of money. But
Changing the footprint.
changing bathrooms, putting down floors, something that we don't. If you were doing that to District 1, sweet, we own it. It's
Right.
improving it.
Yep.
This church we don't own.
Right.
But buying desks, stuff, whatever, putting it there while we're there for 3 months, 6 months, 100 months, however long we're there, that can be used if we do move or if we stay there. Paint can't be. Bathroom remodels can't be.
Correct.
That's where I think the headbutting is gonna come into play.
I mean, I'm fine with just desks, that office equipment right there. We can hold off until we know, on paint and stuff like that, until we know what the.
And I don't think anybody up here has a problem with it. As long as we come up, as long as it's like clear and open that everybody knows.
Correct.
Hey, you got X amount of. You go
Understand.
spend $5,000 and do paint and do some cool stuff if you want.
Right.
Whatever. But don't blow $200,000 on a building we don't own.
Well, no, and I do think too is the whole point of that money was set aside for the upgrade for rec, because you were going to have offices in there, correct? That's
right.
So meanwhile, that's kind of the money that was set aside. So to be able to dip into that and use that and paint, again, that can be just an upgrade and inviting to people and stuff like that. And the furniture is movable. So I would have no problem with them taking it out of that 100,000.
I actually have no problem with them buying furniture and equipment if it's in the budget somewhere for furniture and equipment as opposed to capital improvement.
But when they did the-
for remodeling a building. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Well, but the remodeling of the building, I guess in my view, maybe we're just looking at it differently, is having those offices set up out of that 100,000. I don't know. So that's how I'm looking at it.
I'm all for renting it and painting it.
So because we're going to need the rent, you're going to need offices, and you're going to at least need to make it
we need 2 desks. So
Painting.
that's,
So how about we put
That'd be
a
more
price
correct.
amount on it then?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, so we're not doing anything illegal or wrong or hiding or anything like that if we take it out of that money there, correct?
Do the painting, I'll buy the desk for you. I'll donate.
Well, it's not that though. It's that they also have another desk. So, and it's the money that was set aside for it. So, all right, there's a motion, well, actually, you kind of have 2 motions there.
Yeah, I think you got to, I'm going to have to
Start
withdraw
with
it
the
so that we have it clearly. But do we want to finish everyone, I guess, with conversation before
Yeah.
I make a motion?
Well, I think I might want to do
Karen
the motion.
Lockwood, Budget Finance Committee, and I have a question. Can you please clarify a short-term lease? How many months is that?
He just mentioned, it's only like a couple, they're going to do a soft run, so like 2-3 months maybe?
Typically, a short-term lease is anywhere from 3 to 12 months. Long-term leases typically exceed a year. A short-term lease is generally less than a year.
I'm kind of thinking in my head, I just want a couple months just to see if it's a run, and that's like a couple of it. All right. I guess I would like to make a motion that we approve the soft run and we allow Joe to use some of the money that was allocated for the facility upgrade because that's what it was designated for before. But I do believe that there should be a limit on it. And this would give you rent, this would give you paint, this would give you desks, I believe. 15,000? Is that too much, not enough? So that's where,
yeah, I think that's more than enough. Yeah.
What do you think you need?
I
You
think,
can come back.
yeah, I can always come back.
Yeah.
well, I know.
We need some desks, we need some shelves, we need some, like, actual stuff,
Like half of that, you think
No,
you can
I'm,
do
I'm,
now if
I'm
you
gonna,
need more later?
I'm gonna stick 15,000. That way where he has been responsible in everything he's done in every program that he's done, so I trust him not to blow
And he
it.
said he has the 1,500 in the operating for the rent, so the 15,000 gives him what he wants.
But he only has it, I think, for one month or whatever. So with this, I'm putting in my motion 15,000, and I do trust him to be frugal with it because he is, and so that's my motion.
Second?
Sam just did.
Okay, seconded by Sam. Discussion.
It's a cap, and I'd rather be part of the team, so 15,000 is reasonable. I agree.
Thanks, Dan.
All those in favor?
I like to negotiate.
Raise your hand, Sam.
Motion is carried.
That beats 100.
Yeah, it's not,
Thank you, everyone.
No, right.
it's at.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
And good luck. And thanks, Deb. Both you guys.
Next item is consideration of updating the personnel policy manual. Sue?
This has been in the works off and on for the last 2 years. Whoops. But
Hey, guys.
Hey.
okay. And some of the
Might as well put that away.
recent employees leaving and retiring have brought to light some pieces that really needed to be tweaked, where we had a bit too much exposure on paying out of benefits, and that we were allowing employees to
Put it on the floor.
accrue benefits above the policy. So this is a combination of changes that I've made, in particular to the benefits piece of it, and a lot of changes that the attorneys have recommended, adding language for the Maine Paid Leave Act and some of the definitions and some of the terminology.
Okay.
So you're going to walk down through it all to explain why you made the changes, what the purposes were?
If that's what you'd like me to do.
I would.
And one thing in your document, I didn't change, I kind of gave up changing all of the indexing pieces, the ABCD 1, 2, 3. Those will be correct before it's, or it is correct on the document to sign. It isn't correct on your
Red line.
document. The first one on page 4, number D, or letter D rather, that is a statement that the attorney wanted to put in, that the information contained in this applies to all employees of Raymond, et cetera.
Thank you.
Can I ask something on that? Because I do have a question on that part. So as a town, our bargaining unit should be well aware of what, whatever, well aware of what the town policies are and try to, I guess, stick close to it?
I would think so.
Okay.
I haven't been involved in the bargaining piece of that as yet.
Well, because what happens is if we're way out from what our policy and what our manual is and everything else, it throws things out. Okay.
The next two definitions were kind of buried in the wording later on, and I was constantly looking for them, so I made a definition section and stuck that there. Looking at a lot of other, and I'm on page 5 at this point, looking at a lot of other policies for other towns, I didn't see this all being equal preference anywhere, and that seems to be kind of a old-fashioned notion. So I took that out. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the paragraph before. The at-will that was taken out at the lawyer's request. He said that's not actually legal the way we had that worded.
You didn't say to take out the without cause, though, right? At the end, where you crossed out without cause? Without?
Right, it's just with cause.
He told you to take out
He
without?
did, yes.
So you can terminate someone for any reason that you want to?
No,
With
with
cause.
With
cause.
Okay.
You can
All right.
only with cause.
He took out without
But he said
cause.
we shouldn't have the without cause, that's not legal.
Yeah, okay, that's,
Yeah, so it's taking out the negative, which makes it a little funky.
Peace, you're out. We're not going to give you a reason.
At the top of page 6, added pregnancy and familial status, and that was by the attorney. Under article for types of appointments, letter A, I changed expected to work between 35 to 32 because we've considered for quite some time 32-hour employees to be full-time. So that's just catching up with what we're doing.
Also, it's in C anyway.
Yes, so it wasn't consistent.
Yeah. And D.
And then on page 9, this was catching things up to what we're actually doing. We do pay biweekly now. We haven't paid weekly in a number of years. And for doing a electronic timesheet, Public Works, Public Safety, and seasonal employees have a different process that they do, so we don't require it of them.
and just a question of interest. Have we ever used a time clock? Just a curious, a punch card, clock? Are they now
No.
out of,
We trust people to put their time in.
yeah. It's good to trust people, that's a good one.
They do that in a computer program.
Oh,
It's
that's the
actually
same thing,
web-based.
yeah.
On page 10, I added the acronym for Fair Labor Standards Act because it's referenced elsewhere. Public Works is not Public Works and Maintenance. We don't have floating holidays per se. That has been a thing in the past, but we don't have those. For compensatory time, this was because of the attorney again. Compensatory time can only be given for overtime hours worked. It can't be for regular hours worked. And it's defined in the law as over 40 hours a week. And I just found this again was an inconsistency where at another point we said that how vacation time would be used, and I thought it would be better to be consistent with that description for compensatory time. The storm closing policy didn't change, other than I've got the wrong word in it. The effect needs to be affect. But that's a policy that was separate, and it felt like it belonged in the personnel policy.
Did you skip the part of on date requested on the comp time?
I may have. On date requested. No, that's what I mean was consistent. The compensatory time is used like vacation time in Raymond.
Oh,
So I
okay.
wanted it to have the same
Okay, consistent.
description and be
Okay.
consistent with that.
Thank you.
H for breaks, I'm on page 11, and I for lactation breaks. Those are both wording that the attorney wanted. Some of these are corrections, like at the bottom of page 11. We used to call it regular full-time. That changed a while ago, but all the places in the policy didn't change. So again, it's consistency. At the top of page 12, Columbus Day was changed to Indigenous Peoples' Day. That was per the attorney. The statement, if a regular holiday falls on a Sunday, the following Monday is considered a holiday, wasn't complete enough, so I put a little more explanation around that we followed the Maine, state of Maine's posted holiday schedule.
Sue,
Yes.
we have Juneteenth
Am I missing that one?
also.
I am missing that one, thank you.
What do you do, what do you do for that, because Monday you're closed. So if it falls on a Sunday, do you do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday?
No, we only do Monday. And what happens with employees that don't work on Monday is they get 8 hours of vacation time, or whatever their standard day is. For a full-time, it's 8 hours. Let's see, where are we?
On
I'm gone down to E. And this is a change that I made. I have, anywhere I've worked, it's been time and a half pay for holiday pay, so I increased that by a quarter. And that, for one, was to be consistent with what I've seen working for the state, working for LL Bean and other places. But also, that's a little bit of a bump and could help us with hiring or retaining people possibly, was my thought. For vacation time, this is where we've had some difficulties with, the personnel policy hasn't been strictly followed. Employees have been allowed to amass a lot more vacation time than the policy does state. So this is an attempt to take care of that overage. So what I'm proposing is that beginning January 1st, vacation time will start to be allotted instead of accrued. To transition between the accrual of hours to allotment, employees will be allowed to carry forward up to 2 weeks based on their regular scheduled hours per week, up to 80 hours. So if they work 32 hours a week, they could take forward 64. Employees with more accrued hours than the total of their new allotment plus 2 weeks will receive a check for half the difference. And my reasoning there is, for half of it, is that it's partially the employee's fault for not taking the holiday, and it's partially the town's fault for letting them accrue that much.
So if it wasn't the town's fault, would you just eliminate it? Because they didn't take vacation time for whatever reason?
That's part of, yeah, a lot of places do that.
So how many people would this affect? I mean,
No.
you're talking about people that are working,
It affects 9,
9 people?
yes.
And what's the maximum time that someone would lose? If you must have those numbers, or you wouldn't be bringing this forward.
The maximum hours
That they lose.
that they would lose
Yeah.
is 380. What's the
380 hours a person would lose because they worked instead of took a vacation?
Yes.
Can we grandfather that? Maybe put it into a long-term disability so it's not lost? It's something that they could actually have in and a kind of a hidden account, not a hidden account, but an account. But, I mean, employees who worked instead of took vacation.
Hidden account, that would be like.
Well, I
I'd
mean,
say.
I'm just trying to find, well, it's something you can only use if you had a car accident or something that would,
Well-
disable you, as opposed to losing the money.
This was something that's supposed to be monitored, and it was not over time. So I think what you said, you're trying to figure out a way to do it.
Well, this,
Yeah, and it can go any way you want. This is your policy.
Well, let's go forward, grandfather the people there and go forward and find a creative way to make them use it up or something. But something's wrong when someone works instead of takes a vacation, and now we're going to take half of it away from them. That we allowed to happen. I mean, I know once Public Works Director had so much time that we bought it out, and we paid for it. We didn't say half of it. That's something we've done in the past. I mean, I'm not looking to spend money, but at the same time, you just said we're going to change a little bit up here and give them half pay instead of quarterly to keep people, and now we're talking about taking away 300-something hours? I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
Well,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
but you're
proposing.
doing a buyout of
Yeah.
For half of it.
Yeah.
of half of it, yeah. Because the other thing to consider there is when they accrued that time, they were at a lower rate.
That's interesting. That would be an interesting thing to look at. I didn't give that a thought, and I read this over 3 times trying to figure out the fair answer for it.
So, I mean, if you look at that and say, okay, they accrued that back then, doing it at half says that it probably puts them about where they would have been if they'd used it when they had it.
Does this help retain them? I don't know.
No, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help for retention. What it's doing is putting your policy in where it should be so that people know what it is. And what was happening is it wasn't adhered to.
Right.
And so now you've got, essentially you have this liability that's sitting out there.
And it keeps accumulating, too.
Can we at least give them a year to use some of that vacation and then apply this next January or something? It's just 1 year to let them try to get caught up? I'm looking for a solution that's semi-reasonable. I mean, I understand that that's a lot of time. It really is. And to pay them outright like we did once before is expensive. I don't know.
Yes.
Hi, Brenda Fox,
Yeah.
Finance Director. So I couldn't help, I had to put my 2 cents in.
You're the finance director.
So in the past, looking back on your budgeting, there's never been a budget either in any of your line items, because this is actually a liability. And most auditors will request that you set aside whatever the value is of all that time in a separate line item, should there be a case where you have to pay it out. There are circumstances where you could be your feet held to the fire and you have to pay it out. So it is considerably a lot of money, and that money, even in the next budget season, I had requested to Sue that we add a line in your budget for that liability as well.
I like that.
So that's what I wanted to say about that. The other is there are different, Sue has a good idea. There's also other ideas. You could do incremental payouts until you get them down to that amount you want to always keep so that you don't penalize anyone. You could do it incrementally. You could schedule it to be incremental over a period of whatever your choosing is as well, just to get it down. But the longer you hold it, the more it's worth.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point the chair made. I'm looking just for a solution.
Either way, we'd have to budget it.
I wouldn't even have a problem with putting a warrant in saying this is what happened, and would the citizens pay for it? If they don't want to, then it's a done deal. Then they're deciding. I'm just looking for a solution to I don't want to hurt people. We don't overpay people here. And there's, the health insurance has got a huge deductible, and people that worked instead of took vacation time.
Be careful on that last statement. The insurance does have a large deductible, but the HRA pays it.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just, I think I'm...
They're not paying.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's one of those things, that has to be explained to new hires too, because they look at, oh, that's got a huge deductible. Well, it does, but your HRA pays it for you. So.
The reason I'm kind of concerned is I think we got 36 employees or whatever it is, and there's 9 that it affects. And if there's a way to soften the blow, I like the transition to where it's paid out over 2 budgets or something. I really like that idea. Or put it on a warrant and say to people, this is what happened. are you willing to pay for the employees and start the policy January 1st of not allowing any more? I don't have any problem. Or not letting them use it up.
Is what I've been working on and trying to do is find a way to soften this, because I don't want to penalize anyone either. But it hasn't been dealt with properly. And I was asked to straighten it out as best I could.
That's all I have right now.
This is,
No, I'd like creative ideas. Well, I see it too with sick leave. That's why I'm concerned. It's both vacation and sick leave. So it's a double-headed sword. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I believe the finance director is correct that accrued vacation time is a liability. In my budgeting experience, we actually called it an unfunded liability. So I think that should be emphasized when it comes to budgeting.
Ask the school about that.
There you go.
They ran into that, what was it, 15 years ago when they weren't allocating for the summer pay?
Absolutely. I guess the other question I just have for the town manager is accrued vacation time, can that be applied to retirement?
Can it be applied to retire? I don't understand.
In other words, if you have retirement, someone wants to retire at 65, but they've accrued 2 years of vacation time, can they use that vacation time to stay?
I don't know the answer to that.
They can in Maine State Retirement, as the way it's written, but it's only 365 days.
That just changed.
It did? Okay,
Yeah.
so they've lowered it?
Maine State Retirement will not count that money.
Well, I stand corrected. I'm glad I got mine.
Yeah.
and this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I
And
guess,
we don't have anything in our policy that speaks about that at all.
Sure.
So I would say no,
Yeah.
actually.
and I would say that would be a policy you probably just want to have. I mean, in theory, if you could continue to accrue unlimited amounts of vacation time, you could have people retiring on you.
But that's not what I'm
Much-
proposing.
No, there is a max on
Yeah,
what they can accrue.
Right, that's
Right.
not what you're proposing.
Right.
That's what there is now.
yes.
Yes, okay, thanks.
That's correct.
I'm all for stopping the accrual.
Well, right,
Yeah.
but what happened is it's been allowed, and that's the issue, is that's where we're in the situation that we're in. So meanwhile, what happens is do the employees sign after they've read this and say they've read this?
Yeah.
So, okay, I didn't know if they, all right. All right.
Can we work through it and maybe have it come back again with some sort of solution or some, I mean, this is a lot to read to start with in 3 days. And then
Well-
sick leave is even worse, in my opinion, when you start taking away sick leave that they haven't used.
But the sick leave, if you've
but I'm not
noticed
taking
too,
it
there's
away.
480 hours that they can still carry. That's 10 weeks. That's a lot, and then not go over that. So that's a lot right there. And I said to my husband at where he works, I said, how many sick days do you get a year? And he's been there 34, 35 years. He gets 5 sick days. He gets a lot of vacation time, but he gets 5. And if he doesn't use them, he loses them at the end of the year. So he has that time that he knows what he has.
Then I have a question too on this vacation. Has it always been that they limited people to only 2 weeks vacation? Has that been a policy ongoing?
That's been
I
a
mean, 2
policy.
weeks
So
at
that
a
could
time.
have, 2 weeks at a time, so that could have also been an issue with
Yeah.
people saying, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out, one, how they built up that much, and two, how we take it away without penalizing them.
Part of how a lot of us built up that is, I'm one of the 9. Part of how we built that up is that during COVID, we accrued a lot of vacation time, but we didn't use it because, for the town office, it was closed a lot of the time. I didn't need vacation. I was working 3 days a week. But during COVID, there were a lot of hours that were accumulated.
That's interesting.
I guess I would like to make a suggestion on this number here, is then not to penalize them, so we can move on with this policy thing here, is to, like, working together as a board, is, I guess, paying out in allotments, so we can get it cleared out off the books.
Stop doing it.
But yes, budget it in our budgets as to what we're going to need, but at least we know what we're paying, how much it is we're going to pay, and then we go back January 1st to 2025. Are you guys okay
Then we
with
have
that?
control of it, yes.
Rolf, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, so that way we're not hurting anybody by losing vacation,
I like it. Thank you very much for considering that.
and then that way we can keep moving on it. Okay.
And are you thinking the next budget year?
What, is it better
Over
to
two-
do
I'd say
it
over
one
2
budget
years.
or two?
Yeah, I'd say over the 2 years. And if someone retires or resigns or whatever, it's a different issue altogether because you got language for that.
Yeah.
It's hard without the figures to see,
Right,
if,
no,
to see if we need it for 2 years or
Well, I don't think you really do.
need it for
yes.
2.
If you do
Okay.
two, then you're going to have to put your liability line in.
No, it's,
Right.
You could also create another budget line to do this.
Yeah.
Like you could just call it, you know, historical
Yeah.
earned time. And then that
Just
way
be-
it'd be good for
Yeah,
bookkeeping
you
as
just,
well.
you put it as you put it in as a one-time line, but then you would carry, then you'd have it as one of the carry forwards.
Because is it
So you're not out, because it's only a one-time allocation.
right?
Exactly.
Is it so large though that it needs 2 years?
that's what I was just gonna say.
No.
Oh,
Right. So
That's
let's
just totally up
Okay.
to what
Yeah.
you folks
If,
want to do.
if we went
I
with,
don't technically
with
know the number. So
paying out what I was suggesting, that's half. So if we paid the whole out, it would be about 42,000.
Oh, let's just, I say do it in
So
one
it's not-
budget.
it's
add it
not
on there.
huge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By-
Thank you.
And that was as of a couple of weeks ago. So if we let this go through the end of the year, it'll be a little.
And then it becomes effective January 1st, and we don't have to talk about it again.
Yes. And it doesn't have to come up on.
Paid,
the
it's done,
agenda.
they don't lose it.
So it's not massive.
We can
Okay.
take,
Okay, this is another question.
I do,
And you can tell me if I'm wrong on using this the way that we're using it. In order, and I know we're only supposed to use the selectmen's thing for emergencies or whatever, but if we had to pay it off to clean the books by whatever, the end of the year, so they can start, can we use it out of our selectmen contingency?
Essentially, what would happen is you'd end up overspending the salary budget.
Okay,
So
and then,
you'd square, so it would come out of, it would come either out,
It'll-
at the end of the day, it would come out of surplus.
Yeah.
Because,
okay,
what would happen, you'd overspend the salary budget, which means when you go to close the books at the end of the year, it comes out, so,
We usually
call it
have
one or
one,
call
yeah,
it the other.
exactly.
It comes, so-
usually you have lines that are over too, so, all right.
Can
Okay,
I ask for a clarification? Sue, on A, the allocated at the beginning of the year, date initially hired 2 weeks. Is that if you're
We aren't
hired?
there yet.
yeah, that's the next one.
Okay, but is that prorated to your hire date? Because it doesn't say that.
I had that question, too.
So if I read it, I could
took
say,
it
well,
from
if I
me,
get
didn't
November 1st, I get 2 weeks. And then at that January, I get 3 weeks more. Or is that date initially hired 2 weeks up to 80 hours? Are you assuming it's prorated to when you're hired in that first year?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I had that
Because
question.
Yeah.
if somebody's hired in January, they get 2 weeks for the year, but if they're hired in
November,
November, they get 2 weeks also.
Right.
I just think that we need to add it.
But if they get hired in July,
it's 1 week.
should they have 2 weeks?
so
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand
And
why.
again, I was looking at this more from a trying to hire people and incentivize and things.
Well, each person would be different.
Yes.
So, and usually in somebody's first year, well, a lot of times, you gotta work a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And
We
there's-
have,
Yeah.
and everybody we've hired recently has there's a probation period of,
Yes.
just
And then you have that 6 months or whatever, but
Yeah,
people,
I think
people
it
need to
says-
work a year in order to get the vacation
I'm
time.
quite
we
sure
have
it's
6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm quite sure it
that's
says
fine.
6 months.
Yeah, I was,
Find where it is. Oh,
was-
there it is.
A,
It's G.
It's G.
Well, but you can't,
Right.
you can't do it on that 6 month either, because you would be able to get, I say, a week in that 6 months, but then after a year, you get the 2 weeks or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do it that way?
So the first 6 months to a year, you get, you get
Well,
that.
what you could do is you could say for point one is date initially hired, 2 weeks, prorated,
idea.
Prorated up to 80 hours.
Yeah,
No, wait a second.
because
You-
if someone's
prorated.
hired halfway through the year,
Yeah.
they get half.
right.
Yeah, but
they're-
everybody's different.
If they're hired 3/4 of the way through the year, then they get 3/4 of the 80 hours.
Yeah, even if you get 3 days, it's relative.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, if I got January 1st, you got January 2nd, my anniversary's on January 1st, yours is on January 2nd. So it's based on when you are hired, not
It's
on
your
the
month-
yearly
it's-
thing.
It's the month hired. It's based on the month you're hired. If you're hired,
Yep.
if you're hired January 1st or January 30th,
Right.
you're hired in January.
I've never heard month ever.
What would you suggest, Teresa?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, you get hired, you have to prove yourself. You have to put in your work.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's why
your
we have 6
probation.
weeks.
Well, right.
That's something
Okay,
entirely different.
So if you work up to 6 months, after that 6-month day, you get a week. And then when your yearly, because you get, wait a second, let me finish. When you get your review, that's when you also get your more vacation time.
No. What happens is you're hired, you're on probation, but your actual hire date is, so you're hired January 1st. Okay? You have a 6-month, probation period.
Yep.
But your hire date was still January 1st.
Exactly.
Everything tracks from there. If something happened between there and your end of your probation, you're gone. You're done anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So your date of anchor is still the date.
January 1st.
January 1st.
That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is you have made it to the 6 months. You're doing great.
You get a week's vacation.
You get a week vacation, and then when January 1st comes around for
You
me
get
again,
2.
I get 2, but I
Right.
have to use that week is what I have to do within that 6 months. And then when your anniversary comes around again, that's how Ryder does it, where your anniversary comes, that's when everything gets renewed,
I think
not the month.
You're close,
Yeah,
Teresa,
if-
but I think she's allowing them to actually carry over some vacation
Yes,
time.
carry over 2 weeks and get cashed out 1, actually.
Well, right, and I don't have any issues with that. I'm just saying when they get their vacation time.
But one thing I want to mention
You
with
mean
what
when they
you're
can use it, or
saying
when
is
did they
if
accrue it?
everyone, Yeah.
Did they accrue 2 weeks, or can they use 2 weeks? Is that what you're asking?
Wait a minute, when they accrue?
well, I think, if I understand what you're saying, you're talking about having everything based on their hire date.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any idea how much paperwork that would be every year to figure out, okay, this person gets their vacation on January 1st, this one gets it on February 17th, that one gets it on.
But that's
know.
only the first year, she's saying.
No, actually all the time, because that's why you have department heads. And like my kids say to me, it sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. But sorry.
So I'm trying to keep it simple.
No, what I'm saying is the department heads know when everybody starts, because they also get reviews on their anniversary. So that's when they should be sitting down and having reviews, not all at once, because then that kind of saves.
We only do that in the first 6 months in a year, and then it goes into the regular schedule of in May doing reviews for everybody.
Well, let's talk about simplifying like we did with the accrual. And
Yeah.
Teresa, I understand what you're saying, but from a practical point of view, if you heard the town manager say she's also looking at acquiring new employees and making some, if it's, as the chair said, after 6 months, you get a week's vacation that you can use, probably should use, after 6 months with us. Come January, that's now a full year. You're entitled to 2 weeks. You've worked a year.
Yes.
From that point on, everyone can line up and pick their vacation or whatever and use January simply for administrative purposes.
So it's literally only those new hires that has
That's
the
right.
issue.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's,
right.
I'm making it more complicated
Yes.
than sit there and shut up, Derek.
And I think she's on to the
Did you guys all coordinate your clothing too, by the way?
Well,
I should have coordinated more like Peter because it's 78 in here.
Yes, we turned it down back there too, and it's awful.
all right, I think we got that one.
All right, so,
Okay, we beat that one to death.
Yes.
Okay, so now the next one is after the 1st January, you get 3 weeks. After 5 years, you go up to 4 weeks. After 15, you get to 5 weeks.
Well, that's different than what I just said.
Yeah,
I think after the first year of hire, you get to January, you get your second week.
yes.
Not the first January, because if you hired me in
Right.
November and I get to January, you want to give me 2 weeks, I'll take it. But they could take 2 weeks vacation and quit.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign up every November.
So, yeah, so I say you just get, after your first, you get 2 weeks,
Right.
the January, and then after
Right.
5 years, I don't know, 4,
Yeah,
3?
again, I was trying to increase this to try and attract people.
Well, then do after,
And to try and minimize the hurt of changing to an allotment system from the accrual with people
Okay.
having it.
Just change that word first to second, and then it's not, the rest of it can stay.
Yeah, that's true.
the first, the second,
Yeah, number 2 goes to the
2.
second week.
Yeah,
second year.
And then the rest of it stays.
okay.
And, All right, are we,
We're moving right through this.
Yep, B, right on to B.
We've gotten through 3 pages. It's great.
This is the tough stuff here.
It's really.
The notes get very, very vague after these.
And we're the only one who can see it. These poor guys. Are like,
Oh, my
all
God.
right, what, G, F?
all right, let's move
Okay.
off that before we have any more questions.
So each regular part-time employee will be allotted vacation pay with on the same basis as full-time, but with their hours prorated.
Right.
I took out earned vacation benefits will be based on a normal day's hours because they're not earning them. And I believe I put that up above where it would be in A, regularly scheduled hours. E,
Does taking out the word earn when you get ready to get rid of them and not give them anything at the end here, if you want to fire someone?
Wait a minute, what was that?
Well, the earn, did the lawyer recommend taking that out and not calling it earn
the
for,
lawyer has looked at all of this and has approved it. So.
if you say
But
so?
I'm not sure where you are now. 'Cause
Well,
it's
you
still-
took out the word, took out earn and put
Right.
allotted, you put that, took out earn and put, again, you took that
Yes.
thing out, and then you get down here,
Yeah.
and
then
so-
G, I took out accrue and made it to be allotted. But it still says, where is it for resigning? If an employee resigns voluntarily with less than 2 weeks written notice, that's the not good.
We have resigning voluntarily and leaving
Yeah.
in good standing or through other means of separation in good
Yes.
standing or to a beneficiary or state, yep.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's up here.
E, yep.
Yeah. So instead of having the limit, since there's also, and I've lost, here we go, L on the next page is where, at the end of each calendar year, they can carry over to the next year 2 weeks. And before that, they could cash out up to 40 hours. So there's 3 weeks they could basically have. If they got 5 weeks in the year, they only used 1. They've got 2 they can carry forward, 1 they can
Cash out.
cash out. There's going to be 1 week they're going to lose. And I did want that in there as an incentive for people to use vacation time.
So it is good that they can, at the end of the year, cash out, but somebody may have up to, if you're here 5 years and you're carrying over, they may have 6 weeks of vacation in that year if they carried over too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
and so, okay, well, the reason I was asking the question on earn, let's go to E, which is earned above, and now it's become allotted, and you say that, and I'll read it out loud for people sitting here, vacation time will be, and then you cross out a lot, and you said paid to employees upon retiring, resignation, and voluntarily, and then the new word is and leaving in good standing. So if someone resigned or left in good standing, can be taken away for less than 10 days' notice, and that good standing is decided by you. In other words, if someone resigned, instead of us firing them, they wouldn't be hired. That would be the only time you'd see that used, I guess.
Well, the only time it would fall into play is with J, so it really isn't my discretion. It's if an employee resigns voluntarily with less than 2 weeks written notice to the town, he or she will be regarded as not leaving in good standing. And all accrued, I didn't change that accrued. Just take that out. All vacation leave will be forfeited as a result of the failure to give notice.
Somebody can come in and literally just say, hey, I'm done, and pack their stuff up and just walk out and leave high and dry. So that isn't in good
But
standing.
then there is a caveat in there. If there are extenuating circumstances for the resignation without notice or by a mutual agreement, the forfeiture will be waived at the discretion of the town.
Right, the town manager.
Yeah, the town manager.
So you would have sole discretion on that, and there's no appeal. All right, can we
Well,
go back?
there's always appeal to the document to court.
Because they're her employees and not our employees.
So on F, it sounds to me like when you're talking about vacation approval, you've gone from the department heads doing it to you wanting to be in the middle of that as busy as you are. Is that correct, that it has to be
No, this is vacation time will not be approved for periods of more than
2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, so if someone wants to take a month vacation, then they would have to go to the department head, and the department head would tell me they have got an employee that wants to do this. And we'd have a chat about how does that fit with your schedule, and
Okay.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah, that makes sense. I was
yeah,
thinking
it wouldn't be
would.
they just wander into my office and I want to take a 4-week vacation, and I'd say, okay.
It almost sounded like they had to apply to you for the vacation,
Oh.
not go through the department.
No,
That's-
just
only
that
the
it,
large one.
Okay,
Only
Yeah.
okay.
Over 2 weeks.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just all new language.
yeah,
It's
and
kinda
well, and
tricky.
a lot of that wasn't there. It just, I took out the in an emergency situation, not of the employees making. Because there are times when people need or want to take longer vacation.
Dennis, the other thing we have to remember as a board, anything that happens underneath her watch is on her. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Oh, yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that.
So that way, where she's the one that will have to answer.
I was just surprised that she was looking to take on that issue with everything else going on, you know, that's all.
Well, that part's always been there by the town manager. So I just reworded it a bit. So then K, we've already touched on that if they request in the beginning of November to cash out 40 hours of vacation time, as long as they have that much, they could cash out that in time for Christmas, is my thought, or before Christmas. And then L, we talked about as well somewhat, that if they have a lot of vacation time, didn't take it, they can move forward 2 weeks, they can cash out 1, but anything above that, they would lose. And then they'd get their new allotment January 1st.
So you're talking about B now?
I'm talking about L. We're still on vacation
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry, I drove.
So
I had
it's
that.
just kind of recapping, because we hit on it a little bit later, or earlier, rather. So then sick leave. And I added up to 480 hours. It said or 480 hours, which really is a limit. That limit's been ignored for a number of years.
So this is what I was talking about when I saw the vacation and this. So how do you see this happening, and how many people does it affect? Are you talking about 2 people or 10 people?
This, I'm not quite sure how many it affects.
This 4?
So there's less people. And I'm not suggesting that they lose any of it. By suggesting everyone that has 480 hours, don't accrue anymore. Once you get to 480, that's all you're going to accrue. So if you, and anyone that has much over that will be grandfathered and will not continue to accrue more sick time until their total is less than 480.
So if they had 600 hours, they would start on the 600 to get it all the way down to 480.
Yeah.
Or 400, then, or whatever the number is. So from that point on, as long as they used up what they had, they would always have 480 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to solve it.
Yeah.
Then they're not
That way,
losing it.
they're not losing anything.
And this has got to be long-term employees to even build up that high.
Yeah.
So we don't want to hurt them.
Yeah. No, we don't.
Okay. Well, see, that was really easy.
It's too easy. Something's up.
Well,
Something's up.
I may have missed something.
The next one, I just
It's
wanted.
getting fishy.
Derek under the table.
The next one, I just wanted it very clear that it's 30 calendar days, not working days. That's because I've done too much with the state statutes. And the attorney suggested that we add, unless there is a known illness that requires more time off, following CDC recommendations on E.
So the employee must work 13 or more full day work days in that month to earn sick leave for that month. So
I didn't notice that one, yes.
no, and
I
you didn't change
I
anything.
didn't change.
No, I know that she didn't change anything in it. I'm just wondering, and I think there's something else in here too. If they're out on leave, sick leave or something like that. Where did I see somewhere that it was 15 days that they had to work? So, never mind. I'm going to take that.
Essentially what that's saying is you don't accrue sick time when you're out on sick leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people may think they do, so I don't know. So, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's a policy.
Oh,
in Portland.
the absence of a part of a day that are chargeable to sick leave shall be charged proportionately, amount not smaller than half a day. We have a lot of folks that have local doctor's appointments and they're gone for an hour. I don't want them to have to use half a day of sick leave for a 1-hour appointment, so that's why I took that out. So on page 15, an employee may donate up to 40 hours of sick leave, or sick hours rather, of sick leave per year to a sick leave bank to be used as needed for major illness of any. We haven't instituted that.
We've used it.
We have used it before, but we haven't instituted it as a regular ongoing
I like it.
procedure.
I like it.
But that's
Team
something
player.
that, since it's in here, I want us to do that on a more regular basis, to have that as a regular thing people can do.
Could I just ask you to add a little clause on K2? It says employees shall be expected to call on each day of absence. Failure to report shall justify disallowing sick leave for that day, with the exception of hospitalization or with exceptions noted for disability or some. In other words, before we start cutting off people's pay or whatever, I'm just looking for some reason that a person could be hospitalized for a car accident or something.
And back a ways, I hadn't noticed that one, thank you. Back a ways, there was another place where we said unless it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, or unless there's a good reason for it.
I guess I'm looking at it as Sue using her judgment call. So.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. It just
Yeah.
says this is just black and white, no exception.
Yeah, and that's been in there, that isn't anything I changed.
No, that's why I asked to add it.
What that day?
Yeah.
I'll make a note and come up with some.
I don't think I got any more notes.
Get out of here. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, if someone's in a coma, I really don't expect them to call in each day. So unless they're extenuating
Right, there you go.
circumstances, that's. Then earned paid leave is next. The attorney suggested putting that in. That's new language that he said
but
should be in here.
Using sick leave as vacation time? I don't agree with that.
Oh, where are you now?
I'm on
L.
the same one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing talks about sick leave.
But that's part of the main earned paid leave.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
Sick leave will not be used to extend vacation time.
Well, and that's like
Yeah,
if,
I don't
yeah,
have a problem with that.
yeah.
What did you just say, Teresa?
It says here, it says employees must designate the purpose or reason for the EPL leave request, such as vacation, personal, sick, bereavement.
Right. They're just stating what they're using. They're not
I don't
allowed.
think-
They're not allowed to use it sick time as vacation time. It's up there in L already.
Yeah.
Teresa, the main earned paid leave is a state of Maine law. So they get 1 hour for every 40 hours worked, and they can accumulate up to 40 hours. It can be used for anything they want it to.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I just
This
don't
is
agree with it.
part-time employees, but it's a state law.
Okay, and all I'm saying is I just don't like it, because if this is a sick policy thing, and I know it's a state law.
So it's designed so that if you're a part-time person and you don't get benefits, you get some kind of a benefit for a sick child or a day off for that. So this was put in by the governor, and it's a law.
Right, I get it. I'm just saying
that's
I
how
don't
it
agree
reads.
with the vacation.
So
You
then,
don't agree with the governor.
No,
What you
exactly.
just said there.
Exactly.
so next is the bereavement leave. When I was, again, at the state and at Bean, for certain relatives, 5 days was what was given, and I'd like to add that.
3 is not allowed.
For a spouse, a child, or a parent, and 3 days for the other immediate family members.
I think a dog should be added myself, but.
I'm sorry? A dog?
Yeah.
Okay, only if my kitty's gone there too. But this also, I believe anyway,
Rest of it's straightforward.
the town it's also up to the town manager to allow, I thought that was in here.
It is.
Oh, there it is, yes, for one workday.
Yep.
The discretion of the town manager. And critters do fit into that.
Critters.
always do. Question for clarification, because we fall under kind of a different policy with the shifts that we work. Our folks work 24-hour shifts. If we blanketly leave it as up to 5 days, and they're working a 24-hour day, do we want to also include a definition to break that down to a different portion?
Isn't that picked up under the
Bargaining agreement?
bargaining agreement? So that takes
No,
priority over.
It says, follows the personnel policy under that. So 5 days for a firefighter EMT working for us, if they're on shift, there's 1, then they get 4 off, then they get another shift work, then they're off 2, then they're, that could be
I see your
a
point.
lengthy period. I think that we ought to
5
just tweak
consecutive
it a little
days.
bit.
We can put the word consecutive in.
Well, except, and I think you're right, it would fix that problem, but there are times when people need 2 or 3 days off to get things straightened out, and then a couple of days when they're actually going to do the internment.
Correct.
No more than 5
So
total days?
we've often split up bereavement days for people.
This is a tough one, though. He's right. If you allow someone
Yeah.
to take that verbiage, I think it's a,
We could be the 3 weeks of time easily.
so with the exception of 24-hour shift people, which would be considered
I don't know, I can't find the language.
two shifts.
So
You should be able to get everything done in 2 shifts.
All right, so change
You can't.
that instead of work days
Because of the contract?
to calendar days.
No.
You could do that, and then the other side, and I'm going to side. See, this is how wishy-washy this thing could be. I'm going to go with Teresa on this. 2 days, so I'm on my day on. I'm off for 2, and then I'm on again, and that's a 4-day stretch. But the internment is, and
Right.
the family gathering is on the 5th day or something.
So, and meanwhile, it's during the day that things have to get done, and I know they have to come in and work, but on the other hand is, you're going through, all the emotions and still have to do all this stuff and stuff like that. So, like I said, even that 3 days does not cover it, so.
I've got 32 years with that
Yeah, but
system,
that's-
and I always got it done with 2
All right,
24-hour
So
shifts.
the issue you're doing now, you're dealing with the exception instead of the rule.
Right.
Yes.
So if you change it to work days to calendar days, then that defines that. The supervisor has the authority to grant special circumstances.
Right.
Yeah, that works, too.
So what this does is it gives you, it takes care of your 98%.
That's a good point. That works.
Yep.
That works.
Perfect.
Yeah, he just said it was a you problem on that one.
We had to
That's a
find
good
one
point.
somewhere. It has
Yeah.
to be.
No, thanks for bringing it up.
But
Well-
yeah.
Because you don't want them to come in and work at night while they're dealing with stuff during the day, because it's not getting,
absolutely
yeah.
not.
No,
I
I
don't
know.
feel obligated that they have to work that evening shift, 12-hour evenings or what have you.
Meeting of the minds.
That wouldn't be good.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so page 16, moving right along. Family Medical Leave Act. This was all added by the attorney, and it was actually moved up from later on in the document, but there was nothing in the wording that was changed from the previous one. On page 17, jury duty. This again was added by the attorney for a definition of what we're going to pay for jury duty. And the same with what's under armed forces. The only thing I changed there was taking out regular for full-time, because we just simply call them full-time. Then we get to retirement. And at the June 11, 2024 town meeting, we voted to go with main PERS, which is what this Article 25 is. And rather than have to look it up, it made sense to me anyway to put an excerpt in the policy, at least for now. Eventually, we can take that out and just reference it. Eligible employees were given the choice of changing to the main PERS retirement or continuing to participate in and contribute to Social Security, and to continue to participate in the town's retirement plan if they had elected to do so. So that's just a statement of where we were when we took that on. I did get rid of all town employees will participate in Social Security because that's no longer true since some have gone with main PERS. For B,
Main PERS, we still pay Social Security.
Yeah, that's what I've,
Just take
you
the
still
name.
pay Social Security?
They still get Social Security.
They still get it, but do they still pay it?
yes,
Yes.
the federal government required that.
But does it come out of the main purse thing, though?
It's an addition to it. The federal law changed in 88 or 89, and it required anyone going into a state pension or had to stay in Social Security.
Yeah, and I knew this was a different plan than the state, because at the state, you don't pay Social Security.
I don't agree with that. Social Security.
It's the law.
I just don't
Dude,
agree with it.
Just saying. Well, I didn't agree with the last one, so yeah.
Yeah.
Something
just had
against
to be
Mills here?
Should not be paid.
Okay, so I'm going to take out or continuing.
You don't have
I'm
a...
going to take out the Social Security thing there. Okay. So, all employees who do not choose to participate in main PERS will participate in Social Security. Well, if it's for all, we don't need that statement in there either. All employees who do not choose to participate in main PERS will be eligible to participate in the town's matching 457K retirement plan. Full-time employees' contributions will be matched, and I changed the matching schedule to tighten it up a bit. 0 to 6 months, 0% match. So for the 6 month probation, basically. 6 months to 4 years will be 5%. After 5 years, it will go up to 7%, the maximum rate. Beginning January 1st, 2025, all newly hired employees will have a one-time choice whether or not to participate in main PERS. Any who choose not to participate in main PERS will be eligible to jump into the town's matching 457K. Any employees who do participate in main PERS may request to have some of their automatic deposit added to the town's 457 plan with no matching funds from the town of Raymond. This last one I know has been debated before. It has been requested by a lot of employees. And I do know the Select Board have said no in the past, but I did want to bring it forth again. It doesn't cost the town anything except for the time it takes to set it up initially for the employees' pay stubs to put it in there. And I feel like it's a inexpensive benefit that the town could give to the employees that go with main PERS.
The ability to make contributions in the 457?
If they want to make extra contributions to that, rather than open up a new Roth account somewhere else and have multiple retirement accounts out once they retire.
What was the point before of not opting in?
The original idea was to phase out the 457.
Okay.
But you can't because a lot of people.
But there are people that are hired that it wouldn't benefit to join the main PERS.
How many roughly a piece is it? We have what? How many employees?
Did you say 36?
Yeah,
30.
30-something, 40.
Yeah.
What's
almost
the
40.
breakdown?
Yeah.
Do you know the breakdown roughly?
I thought it was 36.
I don't know who took main PERS and who didn't.
Well, the reality is if they're paying main PERS and Social Security, not many of them are going to be putting in with this anyway. You're already contributing to that big hit. So there's going to be very few people.
Everyone eligible at the fire safety took it. At the town hall, out of the 13, we had 5 that chose not to go into main PERS.
Wow. That's interesting. That's impressive,
Well-
actually.
Probably because the buy-in would have been too much.
Yeah.
But the comment says that they want to have main PERS and so there's 5 that cannot do both because they're not in the main PERS. It's all the other ones that are wondering on it.
I just can't imagine it. But
Well, it's not a benefit from us.
Right,
It's
it's
just
Right.
like a savings account or whatever, but yeah.
if the town manager wants to take that administrative duty on, I don't see why we'd say no anyway.
It's actually the town manager's not taking on.
No.
But she has to
It's
do
a
the
payroll
administrative.
function.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's a payroll
okay.
function.
Well said. Payroll, I'm sorry.
She's in the house.
Doesn't cost us anything.
I mean, my personal opinion is they can do better if they went off and got a financial planner.
I agree.
Definitely.
Work with them. They do a lot better than what the returns they get on the 450.
I agree. And I was in it for quite a while.
And,
So-
I would, I think we do better to encourage them to investigate those by either having some financial planners come in and do some seminars for them and things like that, because,
That would be cool.
I mean, I think
like
they
it.
could do, the 457, it's got some good things in there, but it's also got some dogs.
Cost me a fortune.
And, if they're not getting some other advice, I think they're losing it. They're cutting themselves short.
Anything we can do to help our employees for their pensions.
Well, we're not helping them with the 457,
No,
yeah.
what Mr. Olson just said is simply bring in some advisors once a year or whatever. I like that, too. I like that. It works.
So what are we going to do for D?
So would you like me to strike it?
Or
No, you can leave it in there. I just think we need to. I think
can
we need
easily
to
be
do
done
more
both.
to encourage them to
Not be
look
lazy.
at other ways that they
Correct.
can accomplish.
so let's leave it in there and bring in a financial.
Accomplish those goals, because I mean that I think we do more of a favor to them by bringing in because
Yep.
then they're not taking I mean we don't have. They have no one that's advising them on
Yep.
what funds they put it into in the 457,
Right,
and that's where the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
okay, that works. Keep it.
Okay. So workman's comp, I didn't change. Health, dental, life insurance on page 19. I added short-term disability. I actually don't remember adding long-term disability, oddly enough, but evidently I did, and short-term, and then the next thing that we would pay for the short-term disability. I did that mostly for discussion and in an attempt to kind of minimize the cutting off of vacation time and the extra accrual and the extra sick time, since that won't be building up anymore.
Well, long-term disability, you got to pay into. I know that. Short-term is covered almost by a lot of employees. Long-term is not. Like, I know my husband pays the extra.
We could, we could see, we could look into what the costs are on STD, on STD
Yeah, it's
calls,
low.
but then you'd balance that against just self-funding it.
Yeah, I'm wondering where we're going to get the funds. I'm all for it. I just didn't know if you had it in your treasury.
Essentially, if you self-fund it, we've already accrued. If you look at it from one standpoint, we've already accrued for it because we've already budgeted for that time.
And your health insurance?
No.
Oh, just with sick leave and
On the short-term disability, because essentially, you've already budgeted for those hours. You've already budgeted that money. So if you self-fund it, which just says you're going to continue, you're going to pay them for their short-term disability, it hasn't cost you anymore.
And we can decide that later anyway, right?
So take out
Well, I mean,
long-term
the other
disability?
employees are picking up the slack of.
Yeah, but you still, I mean, they still have to be,
Fund-wise,
still,
it's the same.
a short-term disability, you still have to certify, it still has to be certified.
So we take out long-term disability then?
Well, long-term, no, they can participate in it, but they don't, it's not, town doesn't pay the long-term disability.
Right.
It says participate, not supply.
They can participate in it.
Okay. All right, good.
And the one thing I did find out, another reason I did put short-term disability in here was thinking that would take us out of needing to do the paid family leave that's coming up from Maine.
It won't.
But it won't.
Still, no.
It isn't enough. It doesn't cover all of the pieces that they require.
No, it's
But
not.
they haven't published their rules for that as
They
yet? They have now?
Yep.
Oh, good.
The rules are out. And the rules,
But I called them and they haven't gotten back to
the
me.
rules essentially say too that we don't have the option of paying the full amount. The rules say that it will, if you're over 15 employees, it'll be half and half. So the employee will pay that 0.5%.
Well, that's interesting. I was at a managers meeting today, and I won't name names of some of our neighbors, but they're paying 100%.
Well, according to the rulemaking, it's
Yeah.
not.
I wonder if they haven't seen those rules as yet.
It depends on how many employees. If you're under 15, then you can pay 100%. If you're over 15, it's 50-50.
I believe these were all over 15. So that was another reason that I put that in there. Let's see.
Health insurance.
I took out the
Cap.
up to a dollar value of $3,400 and $2,400 for two-person. It's
So what would it be doing it your way right now? What would that go to?
employees eligible to receive it.
And how many people does that even apply to?
Well, I don't know how relevant that number is. I think it should be just receive up to 1/2 of cash value. That'll be calculated each year. It really depends on how much our insurance is each year. So those dollar amounts were correct when it was put in the policy, but it didn't continue to be correct. And whenever we have dollar amounts like that, they need to be in a separate schedule generally. But I think that covers it, just to receive 1/2 of the cash value
Do you
of the
want the
difference.
numbers?
Yeah, I do, please.
We have 8 employees who receive this benefit. Right now, they get $24.12 a year, so it's just under that. If you take the cost of a single provider and a provider with one dependent, half of that, they'll get $39.60 a year.
So we'd go up about 500.
$1,500 for out of those 8 people, $1,500 each. But those insurances will go up January 1st.
But this could also change yearly, the numbers too, just because in case someone does pick up the insurance because, say, a spouse retires or isn't working
But I
anymore.
mean, it's the issue. Whenever you put a hard number in there, it's troublesome. So you keep, by doing it as a percentage. then
Hey, it's a bigger benefit for employees. If you guys are for it, I'm for it. If it's going to go up with each year with inflation.
Yeah, and all you're doing is you're saying it's just going to be half of that, half the.
Yep, that
Sounds
1/2.
like it's gonna go up
Leave it at that
$5.
without the numbers work.
And then, let's see, on to disciplinary proceedings, on page 20. This next one was a change that the attorney suggested under suspension. Just to describe what suspension was, that it was with or without pay. And on the top of page 21, that was also a suggestion of the attorney to take out that, because any appeal of employees at the town should be to court. It shouldn't be to the select board.
Why would we want to encourage them to hire a lawyer instead of having a chance with us? Last time it worked pretty good.
We don't want to play lawyer.
Yeah, and the attorney said that this should come out. That's
Unauthorized practice
not
of
where the
law.
appeal should be. And then on page 22, social media, that was all wording that the attorney said we should put in there pertaining to social media. That basically says that I can't go out and talk on social media as though I'm the town manager if I don't have the authority to do so. Which is how I kind of sum it up. Then on page 23, under resignation.
I'm sorry, can we
I'm
go back?
sorry.
I was trying to look at my notes and stay with you two at the same
Oh.
time. Under political activity,
Okay.
I'd like to add that no employee should be involved with removing political signs. I learned over this last process that it's a crime. And so, we've been doing that historically, taking up signs in intersection and throwing them behind the shed and whatnot. Unless they're authorized, what they're saying, and I just, again, was talking to someone about it this year, is you call the people who put the sign in the wrong place and give them a chance, rather than I just don't want to be correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, you ran, isn't it?
There's a state law that governs that whole process. I don't know why you guys would need to reinvent that, but
Yeah, we shouldn't be
Well,
involved. with taking signs.
essentially what's happening, what the state law authorizes the road department, or the road department to remove the.
right, I believe that's what Mr. Morse is talking about,
Yeah.
public ways. I don't think you're talking about private. That's
No,
a
I'm not
separate.
talking about private.
No, it's in public ways,
Yeah, yeah.
and the road departments are authorized to remove those. And so all that's doing is flowing it down to the public works.
Yeah, if you pull up to a stop sign and
Because
can't
that's the
see,
road-
and we wait to call the person who's on the sign for them to get the representative to move it, and we have an accident, it's not really.
Oh, okay, I was
Yeah, but
talking to one of the representatives on the process. I had a couple signs moved, I didn't care, but it wasn't behind I couldn't pick them up behind the shed. So I asked, and they said that there's only authorization of those signs are to call the person on the sign and tell them, come remove the sign, and then you can remove them.
Just a point of interest, we probably had hundreds of signs this past year that were destroyed or removed.
Yeah, well, we don't have to add it in here. I just think it'd be a good policy not to get involved with it,
Well,
what they
Some
said.
found in very interesting places.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
there's
winds helped
already-
relocate a bunch of them.
I've got the same tire print across a few of mine. All right, I just thought I'd put it out there.
Drugs and alcohol in the workplace, all of those changes are ones that the attorney made. And on the next page as well.
It says something about testing in here, too, that we can
Only
test.
SelectBoard has to be tested.
I think just to take and apply for the job. But isn't there something in here that says that we can test them? Is that a random thing we do? Somewhere in here I read
If
that.
you have a
Well, there
CDL,
are-
they random test.
Yeah,
They draw your number.
Public Works and the Fire Department, I believe, already have testing procedures that they do.
Okay. I just didn't realize we
And
had.
and like bus drivers and things of that nature. Is that correct, Joe?
You let them run wild.
Only in an accident.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, but they can't, see, because it's a CDL, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also run into that in instances if you're working a government contract.
Say that again, please.
If you are under a government contract, and some of the grants will have requirements that mandate that.
I know we did when I was chief. Anyone who had a major accident, I'd have them wait. I'd go
Yeah.
see them, and if there's any kind of impairment, I'd call.
Halloween night. Bus driver. Sugar high.
Really?
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Oh.
I don't think Mountain Dew counts.
Yeah, you got a sugar high. It was not.
Stay awake.
Well, let me ask you this, because it was more driving than anything else. Do we have a driving policy for accidents to be reported and going to some sort of program? I find nothing in here at all. I know in the fire department we had our own, but don't we want a town-wide driving policy where if there's an accident or like UPS, they get rid of you if you had 3 accidents. Is there anything that we have or ever had that says if someone had several accidents that we make them take training? That's one of the things we do in the fire department, or we did do. I don't know if you still do or not, but there's nothing in here at all for.
I'll tell you where that would come back, or the insurance companies will be on you if you have a habitual offender. They're going to be on top of you. I know in situations where they have, where an insurance company has come back to an employer and said, that person can no longer drive a vehicle for you, or your policy's canceled.
Well, there may be a reason for that.
Well,
That's
same
what I'm
thing with
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, if, in cases like that, the insurance company usually is more up in front of it than anybody else, because they're worried about their liability.
You guys are comfortable not having a driver's policy with multiple accidents or anything?
If you have a CDL, again, like, you can't get the speeding tickets, you can't get any of that. You really have to be careful on the CDL license because they will take it away. They're very particular about that.
Okay. Thought it was worth the conversation.
So had we gotten to harassment, I think?
Yep.
So did need to change anti-harassment to prohibition of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. And he added discrimination. This was, again, attorney changes. The sexual harassment, he did reword, and all of the, or most of the stuff from the top of 26 that's been crossed out is kind of reworded in the bottom of 25. So it just kind of shuffled around and a few things reworded from that. And that continues on until we get to the bottom of page 27. And it's workplace safety now instead of workplace violence. Evidently, we don't want to encourage workplace violence. But that's the only change to that. And then we do have the article on 28, the article for safety and use of town-owned vehicles. And again, this was attorney's changes.
I like the 28 of 27. We seem to be going past how many pages are in this policy.
Yeah, we are. This, like I said, this has had so many
So 29 of 27.
formats that I'll go back and fix the page numbers.
All right, Lee, you did that. All right. Okay. Dang.
At the bottom of page 29, the leave for victims of domestic violence, that was moved to earlier in the document. We've already looked at that. So it isn't that I got rid of it, it's just it got moved in the policy. And then on page 30, use of town-owned vehicles, that was all verbiage put in there by the attorney as well.
There's the alcohol. I'm sorry, never mind.
There's a bunch of stuff in there for you.
Yeah. I just wondered where it was.
Texting and drive, you know.
And then bottom of page 32, another one from the attorney about training.
There's doc print on page 31 at the bottom. Is that new, the doc print part of it, or is that
It isn't. I don't know why that came out bolded.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out why you changed the method of adding.
Yeah, that's not anything
Okay.
I did change, but when it printed, it looks bold, so I've got to go try and figure out why too.
Well, that was easy.
Super quick, too.
I like how we work through each of the issues in there, and we're all in agreement with that. So
that was really,
since we were able to work through and talk through, can I make a motion on it?
You can.
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Before you do, could I just ask a question?
Can we, I was going to say, can we do it during discussion, or?
Well, we can't. Well,
Go ahead.
let's take the question
Yep.
first.
My question was how you stated the new rules for paid family medical leave. I'm sorry, it took me a little while to find the new rules, and I'm not sure either I misunderstood what you said or what was said was not quite what I'm reading here for the new rules. And I'm just hoping you'll take another look at that, because I am just, very quickly, I am just reading. It says employers with 15 or more covered employees shall remit 100% of the premium, but may deduct up to 50% of the premium from the employee's wages. So it's not an automatic. I just was pointing that out. Sorry I didn't do it sooner, and I'm sorry to delay this any further.
Thanks. January 1st.
What number is she dealing with?
Okay, now you can make your motion.
Okay, so since we were really good, and thank you guys for all talking this through, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Town of Raymond personnel policy. And one of the reasons why I guess I too as improvement is because we are in December, and January 1st is coming around really quick. So I make a motion to approve it with all the changes that, yes, that we agreed on together as a group.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried.
Okay, so this one here is, you guys are going to sign the tag.
Or would you rather I wait and sign it after I have it completely done? That's up
So
to
you can
you.
put it on, you can put it on the,
I can put it on the back table when it's all done,
Yeah.
because it might not end up on that back page.
That's right. Okay.
okay.
I'm not signing that one.
Next item,
Such a dirt.
I'm not signing that one.
no.
But it's passed.
Discussion of traffic issues in Raymond.
In your packet, whoops, I've got to get down to said packet. I went through the data that we did collect. It was put on 3 different roads, Egypt, Plains, and Main Street. It was just for a short time.
Do we have this
Whoops.
in the packet or not?
Yes.
Yes.
You have what I'm telling you.
Page 175.
And what page? Okay.
What page was that? I'm sorry.
175.
Yeah, because
That's why.
my scroll here won't
Yeah,
work.
there's
We
a
jumped
lot.
from 120 to like.
Yeah, it's 158 pages, so it's a little
Oh, it's
confusing.
179.
It's 179.
Catch up, Dennis.
Thanks.
You're missing some pages.
Yeah, got down to there we go. Traffic data thus far.
I knew it.
It was interesting that Plains Road had one that must have gone 24 hours because it said it had a speeder in at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would love to have seen that set up on Main Street. I know that they had an extreme number there too. Are we just doing a test now and doing it when
Yeah.
snow melts and we start again?
That's correct. This was to see, one, what will a little bugger get us? And what it will get us is the minimum speed, the maximum speed, the mean speed, and the total number of vehicles per hour. So it doesn't show every single car that goes through. These samples aren't statistically significant, so we can't really draw conclusions from this, but we can get some anecdotal pieces out of that. Nathan did actually see the one on Egypt Road that managed to hit 68 miles an hour, which is a pretty good trick on that road. And he found that at that time there was an emergency that an officer was going to.
Oh, was it a
that's-
police officer?
Yeah, it was a police officer. So I think that's a learning that I've taken out of this, that when we actually look at data next spring, I'll need to talk with Cumberland County to see when were officers going through and see if that had any bearing on our data.
2 different nights in the last couple nights, I saw the Cumberland County Sheriff sitting down on Main Street at our fire building down there. Not at the fire station, but at the other one. So they were sitting there, which was really cool.
I've seen more radar since we've been talking about it. We have had an impact. It's got out that we're concerned. The highest speed, I don't have my paperwork here, you know, that Main Street hit was like 59.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was talk, you know, from Sean and from the comprehensive board, when you think of 60 miles an hour on that road, I don't even know where you can get up that fast.
Yeah, around midnight.
It was midnight.
Yeah.
What it is some kid sees it and goes, "Ooh, I wonder how fast I can get the thing to go off on."
Oh, yeah.
We had a rollover on Main Street and 121 when I was chief and went up into the house. So all I'm saying is the concerns have been heard. 60 is fast. And if it's 60 on Main Street, you can bet it's 75 or 80 on some of the other places that I've been on, you know. So I'm glad that we're going to start this. I think it starts the process.
We know what we can get out of that particular sign right now.
And is that just one, or do we have 2?
We have one
We have
sign.
one.
Are we getting a second one?
Put it in the budget.
That's a discussion.
Yeah, that's a discussion to be had.
In the budget process?
Or we could, I mean, we could, you know, it's a discussion item now. We can have that. I mean, what was the price on that?
The post one, the one that was recommended by
Well,
Peter?
3,000?
this one's a mobile one
Yes.
Yeah.
rather than being static. And I think Nathan said it was about $3,000.
I mean, you want a mobile one because,
Okay.
Two of them are in different areas, so it's not the same.
I just think it's time.
you know, because if you know, by moving it around, you know, number one, you know, people don't, you know, if they know it's a static one in one place.
I would make a motion.
Be careful there, but not someplace, you know. So I mean, if, you know, I mean, I would entertain saying, you know, to buy another one, take that out of Selectmen.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great because we've got so many streets I make a motion that we buy another sign, a mobile sign for speed awareness and data collecting, thus enable the town to set up 2 in 2 different locations and start to collect data in the spring.
I would even say add another one in there, because then you can keep moving around,
Well,
but yeah.
I mean, that gives you 2, you know.
'Cause you got quite a few, we got quite a big area to cover.
Yeah, but we also have to store them.
Okay.
Dennis, say 3.
Well, we're going to see what Peter has to say. That was my motion. I didn't hear a second
Well,
yet.
it hasn't been
Second.
seconded.
No, on the 3.
It's been moved and seconded on buying
2.
additional.
We're just open for discussion now.
Pete?
Okay, so Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I believe that what was posted on the agenda is at the last meeting under public comment, both my wife and I spoke to this issue. It was right on the heels of the tragedy on Egypt Road on October 30th. Just for your knowledge, that case is still under investigation, and there has not been a final determination of causality, and they will not release that for liability reasons until they've completed their reconstruction of the accident. I did send to the attention of everyone on the Select Board the Lakes Region Weekly article of November 29th. That basically describes Lakes Region towns to test traffic calming measures. I think what might be getting lost in this conversation a little bit is, first of all, just as a clarification, there are for around $6,000 or $7,000 apiece. What you get versus the $15,000 to $20,000 for a trailered solar-powered device similar to what we have now. What we've all seen is on post road signs that basically have solar-powered displays that give feedback to the driver as to what their speed is. Right above that is the posted speed, so they have that reference. And these are brackets mounted on poles. So you can move them around anywhere. You can use them 12 months out of the year versus the trailered type, which obviously end up being a risk by planting them during the winter and there's plowing. So that's why these studies, traffic studies, are usually done in the non-snow months. I think also what's lost is the fact that if you were to read this article, what you'd see is that collecting data through those signs is only one of the many things that the Lake Region town of Gray, Casco, and Sebago will be installing from June until October next year to collect data. I am kind of a data guy. I don't have a problem collecting data. From the comprehensive plan experience, it was that the data that the town collects with these devices can be useful in determining if you have an issue. And what I will tell you is that the Greater Portland Council of Government funded through a grant this study for these 3 surrounding towns. So they're going to start acquiring data on different strategies. And if I could just quote the article, what it says is that these measures make travel safer for cyclists and pedestrians, but also for everyone just by slowing down the traffic. And the fact that the data could be used as temporary measures to provide low-cost opportunities to test out different treatments as opposed to the more expensive prospects of immediately installing permanent infrastructure. But I guess my main point is this one. If I was to ask the people in this room or in the community in general, if they believe that there is a road safety issue in the town of Raymond, there is. And there is not going to be any one fix. That's why all of these efforts are called traffic calming. And as I've mentioned before, that could be everything to increased sheriff's presence on our roads, to re-engineering some of the roads, especially in our very sensitive areas, like the school district, like the village area, and like any area where we're seeing a higher incidence of traffic crashes and the like. But in my opinion, and as I've heard other citizens in this town say, we really don't need that data. The anecdotal information that Sue refers to, I would challenge that half of the people in this room have an anecdotal story recently about an unsafe condition on the roads in the town of Raymond. So I guess first and foremost, I would discourage the town going out and purchasing more of these, I guess for lack of a better term, they're relics. They're going away. What we do see is in communities that have perceived that there is a problem with road safety, and that's many in this state, are going more to these solar-powered radar display feedback to the driver to let him know. It's posted, the sign above says speed limit 40 miles an hour. And then they look and they see what's blinking on that sign, and it's 55. And sure, we can collect that data and we can show over time, but I will tell you, I've talked with Cumberland County. Egypt Road is considered a dangerous road. And as I mentioned, I believe in public comment at the last meeting, there have been 40 incidents, traffic incidents on Egypt Road in the last 2 years. And that what the DOT describes as a criteria for identifying dangerous roads, it's more like a half a dozen incidents over 3 years. So I don't know. The data that we collect with one of the devices might be helpful in persuading DOT to do more. It's great to see that there is a sign that went out there and at least we collected some data. It's great to hear that, yeah, we've seen more speed traps or we've seen more presence of the sheriff in the town. But I can tell you that that wasn't data that provoked that. It was the death of 2 of our citizens.
Peter, are you saying that the posted ones, first of all, I react to it when I get in my head and I'm driving and I see a flashing sign that says I'm doing 40 in a 35 or 25, and I'm a human. I slow down and I've seen a sign that says thank you, and I think that's really cool. You know, is that the sign you're talking about as opposed to the data? Something that just brings people into the moment?
That you can purchase those. Yes, you're right, Dennis.
How much are
The
those?
big ones.
What's that?
Instead of the big ones.
Yeah, and how much are those? Are you saying they're cheaper than this?
It depends. There's a variety. So you can get some for $5,000, $6,000. You can pay up to $9,000 if you want them to collect data and be Bluetooth enabled. But you can purchase these signs that have adjustable or removable brackets. So you can put them on a pole on Egypt Road for 3 months, and then you can move them down to the village if you want. But the bottom line is, what I'm seeing is that there's multiple ones placed in many of the communities around us. And obviously, I'm not seeing as many of these big trailered signs anymore. It's kind of gone past that. It's not surprising that, I don't know if it was the Maine DOT or if it was the county that donated one to us. It was one or the other that donated the one we have. You know, I'm always suspicious when anybody's donating things to you, you know? And so it wasn't surprising for me to find out that, they were looking for a part for it forever. Because, they're probably not making as many parts anymore because people aren't going there. But I guess the crux of what I'm saying is this is just the feedback signs, the display feedback signs are just one of the many traffic calming measures that communities have taken or are studying. What I'll tell you just to finish up, because I know the hour's getting late and others want to talk, but the issue with road safety, not just speeding, but road safety in general, was identified in the survey by the comprehensive plan conducted in the summer of 2023. So if you're looking for anecdotal information, go to the website, look at those numbers, and see how many people that we surveyed was saying, we've got a problem in Raymond, and it's not isolated to Raymond. It's everywhere, and I think everybody in this room knows that. So the Vision Zero, which is a proposal that's been adopted by many communities, is mentioned in our comprehensive plan as well. And basically, it's a plan to get, in the next 20 years, a massive increase in road safety through traffic calming throughout the country. And it's Vision Zero is endorsed by the comprehensive plan. And so I guess I'd end it with the fact that, as I mentioned before, it's more than just the feedback signs. And no one thing's going to solve it. If you happen to be someone who subscribes to the fact that the climate is changing, then what do we hear? We hear that it's not going to be solar energy that's going to solve the problem. It's not going to be getting rid of coal plants that solves the problem. It's not going to be getting more efficient gasoline automobiles that's going to solve the problem. It's a combination of all those things that will help to limit the issue.
I think we know that. I think we've heard it enough. We're trying to find a solution. I think the fact that we're willing to spend $3,000 out of the selectmen's $75,000 may be the first for this, and it's a step in the right direction. If what I'm encapsulating from what you just said is it's a waste of our money to buy a mobile one because it's outdated, that's a different scenario altogether than us trying to do, I guess, how would I say this? We're trying to take the first step within our budget process.
Dennis, there's newer technology that is mobile, so don't conflate that. So these signs that have brackets can be mounted on a pole for 1 month here, another month there, another month there. So they have the same advantages of the trailered devices that are the antiques.
It'll be year-round.
Yeah, and those trailer devices are, my investigation showed $15,000. $5,000 is for the trailer.
I get it.
So I think you kind of jumped. Dennis was just, and I think Nathan would have probably come back and said to us, look, I can get these for cheaper, or they're better, whatever. And I don't think we were fully done discussing the whole traffic warming at all. I think that was just like the first step that Dennis says, okay, since that we got information on this one, let's get another one so we can get more information. And I don't believe we hear everybody, and we don't know what the answer is, and that's why we're sitting here talking. And I think what happens is the discussion was still going on as far as what are some other steps we can do, because we didn't end our discussion on that.
So I would recommend or propose the fact that there be an ad hoc committee established in the town of Raymond, comprising leadership and citizens, to study the traffic safety in the town and make a recommendation to the selectmen.
To the budget committee, because we're starting the process, right?
No, it would come to the select board. Go to the budget.
No, I'm saying that when the budget process, I meant to say, not the budget committee, because we're headed into a budget process.
Right.
And we're going to be spending, don't get defensive here. I'm just finding the right word.
No, we're listening.
You're trying to appropriate something to a department that doesn't go to.
The budget process, we're 6 months into this budget. So we're not going to buy 3 or 4 $9,000 signs that we haven't even talked about out of a treasure or I don't think we are anyway.
No, because we're still working on that. Which ones to buy.
The reality is we're not going to have radar police stopping people. I've seen 2 different things, and you mentioned one of them. This mobile sign I've seen where it's set up underneath a speed limit sign, and 3 cruisers on a quarter of a mile down the road saying, you saw the sign, you're still speeding. That's pretty effective. Really effective when you start doing it every day. But we're not going to have that. So we've got to take the first thing, and I'm not opposed to a committee getting together and bringing into our budget process saying we need speed bumps or 5 of these signs or whatever. But we're trying to use some funds to fix sick leave, to fix vacation time, and maybe get a sign. So is the sign not $3,000? Is it $9,000 no matter what we spend, or $15,000? I'd rather spend $9,000 on one we put on a post than $15,000 on wheels, if that's what you're saying. And I think that's what you're alluding to, that the other ones that you just hook up to the post, you're not paying for the trailer. Is that correct?
Yeah, Dennis, that's part of it. I guess I don't want to take up too much more time. I just tell you this: I'm heartsick over the deaths.
So as am I.
And it seems like the only time there seems to be real action taken is after a disaster. And all I'm saying is it would make more sense to be proactive than to be reactive.
I agree.
And when it's life safety, I don't think there's any wiggle room there.
Then I'll change my motion. I'll ask, make a motion that, I guess it's going to have to be Nathan. He's traffic. He's the road guy to investigate and recommend which sign we should have up there, unless there's a better solution here.
No, I think that's what you were trying to say.
I don't think we need
Yeah,
to motion
but-
it, though. I mean, it's,
You already have a
it's in
motion
the works.
seconded on the floor.
Go ahead.
I withdraw the second.
I'm sorry.
If the motion's been withdrawn, I mean.
Withdraw your
it's
motion.
kind of,
Well, you're the chair. How do we proceed?
well, it really, what you'd have to, the clean way, you have to vote the motion down.
Yeah.
Because you no longer own the motion. The motion is on the table. Once the motion's on the table, it's not owned by you. You can't retract it.
Oh my God.
So you have to
Okay.
defeat the motion, then you can make a new motion.
Thanks, parliamentarian.
Well, I thought if she withdrew the
That's what
second,
you said, right?
that was the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. That's what I put that in his ear. Okay, so
can't. Same thing.
no. Okay, so what's
If it
happening
hadn't been
is
seconded-
he's going to say all.
She already seconded.
So what
She
you're
can't
going to do.
withdraw.
He's gonna say
is you're
all in
going-
favor,
you're
and we're
going
gonna
to-
vote
You're
no.
going to defeat the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, so the motion is defeated. Now you can make it, now if your.
We're gonna give her the
if
direction.
Your intent is, that doesn't require a motion, it's a direction, we can direct the town manager to have the.
Yeah, we don't need a motion.
Have the public works director.
Okay.
Do the investigation.
Okay.
There.
There you go. I think,
Very, very quick.
That does not require a motion.
okay.
Sean McKill, Budget Finance. I live on Main Street, and last Wednesday, I was in a Zoom meeting, and within 1 hour, 3 people got pulled over in front of my house. So,
So they're there, which is
the
great.
combination, exactly what you're talking about, is what we need. And I just, real quick, just want to say, I was driving through Yarmouth today, and I saw the signs that we're talking about, and those are very, very effective. Then, they can be up there all year. They're up high enough where they weren't destroyed by the plows. So,
I like that idea.
yeah, so Budget Finance Committee, I know that we're interested in spending money on this coming up. So I appreciate you throwing some money at it, but I think that we really want to look at this to throw, a lot more into it to make sure that this is the right thing.
Okay. Well, that was good.
Okay. Next item, discussion of formulation of a visioning committee to look at the potential uses for the Jordan Small Middle School. So the intent here is to put out an advertisement so people can apply to go onto this committee. The committee's task would be to do conceptual ideas on what could be done using the school. I don't envision that committee looking at costs or feasibility. That would be a second committee. This is the pie in the sky people that are going to say, here's things that could be done. And let's, and for that we want a broad swath. We want age-friendly, we want youth, we want public works, public safety, we want as many stakeholders as we can get there to look at the building, say, here are things that could be done there as far as overall looking at where the town's going. From that committee, then it can go to, okay, from those ideas, what are practical and what are not practical, and what are the costs going to be? Because at some point, we're going to come down to the fact that we're going to have to spend some bucks up there, and we need to have a plan first that says, here's what we want to do, so we then can say, okay, it's going to cost us $2 million, it's going to cost us $10 million, it's going to cost us $20 million, whatever that figure is going to be, because that is what the people are going to have to buy into.
I like that idea.
Sean McKill, Comprehensive Plan Committee. We've already kind of did that. My recommendation would just be jump into it a little bit more harder than that. We already have some good data collection on what could be used for. My recommendation is to, because of our time crunch and everything, I think that you should go full board instead of just doing a soft committee.
Well, I don't, I'm not sure that you had every stakeholder in there. I mean, when I look at all the, all the various departments and stakeholders that could come in there, I'm not sure that everyone was at the table. And I think that, I appreciate and applaud the work that the comprehensive plan did on there, but we're talking about a major event here, and we're not, this isn't something we want to push through on the fast track. It's something we want to take a look at. What is the 10, 15-year use of that building?
Well, and I've had a couple people approach me and say, what are we going to do? Are we going to put together a committee as the board? And that building has been projected for so many uses. So that's one of the reasons why, too, is getting the church might be an addition to that, too, because of how many things people are looking to put in that building, is what it is. So I fully agree with that and getting more people involved in it.
Fair. I'll let you guys handle it the way you want to handle it, but it just seems to me that having two separate committees, the soft committee and then the harder committee, just seems to me like get the hard committee going on first. Like, doesn't that make a little bit more sense than to get all the ideas together? And sure, the stakeholders can still come to the full committee's meetings and stuff and say, hey, we want to put our representation here, but it seems like
I think that on the second committee, you have a different set of talents that are required there. You need the engineering side, you need things like that are going to be required on that, because you're looking at HVAC issues, you're looking at various issues, physical plant issues. The first committee isn't as concerned with that as the second would be, because that gets into, okay, here's the pie in the sky, we could do this and that and the other. The other one looks at it and says, no, you can't do that, because you'd have to, you're now destroying the building doing that. So I mean, the one feeds into the one feeds into the other.
Sean, but I have to laugh too, and this isn't anything meant to sound sarcastic or anything. It's almost like sometimes when you were telling us before, we were always rushing things. Now I feel like you are telling us to skip that first step and go into the next step.
Well, no, the rushing, no, I don't feel like this is a rush. If, like I said, you guys handle it the way you want. My recommendation is that, that we're coming up very quickly on that. I mean, we are. I appreciate that now we're actually looking at this, because when I first started on budget finance, that was so far away, we weren't interested in looking at it. Now I think you guys are taking it very seriously. That was just my recommendation. If you have the experience with it to say, though, this is the way it should be done, then I'm okay with it. I just kind of felt like, to have two committees, I don't know, it just seemed like a waste of time. So is the first committee going to be 6 months, a year? Like, what would your vision be for the first committee?
It's not a long cycle. It's probably
like a 6 months.
So they're only meeting
ideally you'd be 6 months. Ideally 6 months.
So
the problem you get into with committees is you first have your organization, and that a lot of the work doesn't get you got to kind of be a little bit flexible, have some flexibility in there, because if we can get people started and they can work together and come up with the good plans and whatnot, then that should be a short-lived committee. Then that hands off. Now they can take a lot of the work that you guys have already done, and that helps on that starting phase too.
Well, another thing we had to remember too is we cannot predict what any board members that are on that school board may want to do with the school, because they have to vote to turn it back over to the town. Even though it's so close, it's there, you cannot predict and say what someone else is going to vote, because in another year, it may be half of a new board. So that's another thing we didn't want to get too far ahead. You know what I mean? And that type of thing.
Well, like I said, I'm good with it the way you're doing it. That's, I'm fine with it. That was just my recommendation. But
And Sean, I can answer the question. I think there'll be a member or two from the comprehensive board. I think there'll be library there, so there'll be a member from the library. You've got a lady right now that's active with the older group. I'd like to find another word than
Age-friendly.
Age-friendly.
But I mean, so
And rec.
yeah, or age-friendly, friendly about the age. So if you take the people that are the stakeholders already that are in existence, and you combine them with the what recommendations are coming out of the comp plan, those things will all be part of it. You know what I mean? You won't talk about the library without bringing a library person in. So if you start off with that rounded committee, you know, it's quite a process. I mean, I did the public safety building, and it took some time, and but I don't think anyone's going to skip the recommendation of the comprehensive board. That was some great stuff, and we're going to have members of that board on the committee, probably the first committee and the second.
Well, like I said, I'm good with it. I wanted to bring it up.
Grace Levitt, 2 Levitt Road, I agree with both, if I could say that. And so I'm wondering if you could broaden the charge a bit from what Rolf stated so that they could start getting into some more specifics. If you have the library director on the committee, they know what they might need for a library and whether or not there's a suitable space already without much, if any, renovation needed, things like that. So I'm just hoping that that could happen and move forward. I would also just add there's a beautiful new, relatively new community center in North Yarmouth where I've been having some meetings and looking at some of the area community centers and how they're using spaces that were former schools, in that case, would be part of what I would hope such a group would take on. And just on a long drive back through New England, I did notice in the tiniest of little towns, they had a community center. And so, again, that's my hope that there will be a community center in at least part of those spaces. And maybe, again, the charge could be broadened to look, as I mentioned before, at all of the buildings that the town owns and how they're being used, and if there's a better way to be using them in an overall plan. Thank you.
Can I ask Joe, just to get up there, he's talking to a friend that's technically going through this, too?
As far as, yeah, there's, off the top of my head, there's, Westbrook Community Center, that's an old school that was converted. There's one in Gorham, that was old middle school, that's been converted to community center and town hall. So there's definitely some out there. I know a bunch of people have actually put children, so kids like middle school age or high school aged in those visionary development plans because they have a good feeling of what they want as well. So that's one recommendation too, is to have a student involved in kind of that visionary plan as well.
That middle age, that's kind of hard, that the teens don't know what to do, and they don't want to be staying home, they don't, So that would be...
That's also something that's been done.
Thanks, Joe.
So, Mr. Chair, we're talking about January, having a notice go up saying anyone interested could apply with their resume or whatever?
It'll go out as soon as we can get, soon I can get a...
Oh, okay.
So can we, do you want a motion on this?
No, we don't.
Nope, okay, good.
We don't need a motion on that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We'll need a motion when we go to form.
Yes.
When you
Form
form
it.
the committee.
Okay, so you guys are going to deal with that.
Okay.
Good.
That's why I had a question.
Yep. Okay, next item is consideration of voting method for town meeting warrants. So we're at that time again where we need to make the decision on whether we're going to go to an in-person town meeting or go to a referendum town meeting.
Keeps coming back and forth.
And is there a reason it has to be decided in December or January? It can't be decided in May or April when the...
Yes, because if we're going to vote by secret ballot, we have to make the ballots, and they have to go to the printer by May, or actually by April.
It's also on the schedule, too, as far as hearings and...
Yeah, and that's what sets the budget schedule. That's why we moved it back.
I think I've been publicly straight up that I want to see an annual meeting, and if they decide to vote to stay with the secret ballot vote, then that's what we'll do for the rest of it, I guess. But that's my feeling.
Thanks, Deb.
Grace?
All set? Yep. Grace, 2 Levitt Road. Grace Levitt, sorry. I strongly encourage that we at least try an in-person, open forum town meeting. again. So I've watched back to several select board meetings from the last few years. I know that we went to the ballot type of voting on the warrant, town meeting form. The words are not going to come out quite right. I want to be sure I'm clear about what I'm saying, though. We had to do that because of COVID. And looking through and listening to some of the discussion in previous years when it's remained voting on a warrant, I heard remarks such as people had questions on Election Day about items on the warrant. And yes, they could be attending these meetings. I would encourage people to do that. They might not if I keep coming up to the microphone, however. But just at least listen in to the Budget Committee deliberations, to all of those things. It's really important, I think, for people to be informed on what they're voting on. I know that the numbers of people voting in June at an election day, they have other things they're voting on, so they're coming out for that. And yes, if we're voting on the warrant, that is a convenient way for some folks. We don't know if they're voting on all of the items in the warrant, however. If they don't understand something, they might not be voting on it. And so you may not really be getting the participation that you think you're getting just because of the numbers of people that are showing up to vote or taking out absentee ballots. So I would encourage us to try that again, to have in-person discussion. We've talked about connecting with the community and building that sense of community and rebuilding that sense of community. There's a lot going on towards that, but I think this is a really key step. And so again, there could be lots of ways to use that day, to have other groups coming in. We used to have, I don't know if it was Lions Club or some other organization that had the lunches that you could purchase, and there were groups of kids that did babysitting and really encouraged people to attend and have the discussion that is needed to really understand what they're voting on when they're voting on different warrant items. I think I've left a key point out, but if I had, I think I know somebody that might be heading something in, but hopefully that's the direction that we could go in and see what we can do to help encourage people to come out and attend a town meeting. When I asked somebody in Wyndham just yesterday, do you still do the in-person forum town meeting? And they looked at me like, well, of course we do. That's a pretty large town. So again, they're still doing that, as are many other towns in the state, and I'm hoping that we could do that once again and encourage participation in the town in that respect. I think there's a lot of benefits to being in person. You form relationships, you make friends, you have those side conversations, which some of us are having. I apologize for that. But you get to meet people, you get to know your town, and you get connected to your town. And I think that's really important that we start doing that more in Raymond. Thank you.
Grace, can I ask you something? I guess my concern is we're only going to get those 15, 20 people out there. I know when they go down to the school to vote on the school budget, there is maybe 35 people there for those. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot, but my concern is we get more people coming out, and I understand what you're saying as far as getting people out, getting them involved and explaining things. But even with the comprehensive plan, when you had Peter there, I mean, we had that big setup and hoping 4 people, and I was sitting next to Karen, 4 people came to that, which that's the plan of the town. So that's why I always push for the secret ballot, because we're getting more people out, because we're giving them a longer time. I would rather have many open hearings. I would get information out any other way we can, but my concern is, do I want 15 or maybe 20 people voting on everything when you can get a lot more of the town involved?
So I do believe it was more than 15 and 20 when even the last few times there were town meetings. I recall we used to do it on a Saturday. Yes, it used to, long ago, include the school budget, and that drew people out as well. But when that was no longer the case, the numbers did drop off. But what were we doing to encourage people to attend? What were the communications about it? Then it switched to a Tuesday evening. And it was at such a time that, again, if you commuted elsewhere, as many people in Raymond do, you wouldn't even get back in time to be there for the town meeting. It was a struggle for many. And so, again, it's what could we do? The problem was low numbers of people attending let's address that problem and get people to attend and have that discussion and that debate and really understand what the town is all about and what they're voting on. That would be what I would push for, and find all sorts of ways to have multiple ways to communicate about it, have the date set well in advance, have other things that draw people in, and again, build that sense of community back. I think it's really been something that a lot of people are looking for. And again, the comprehensive plan has a ton of information in there and talks about that as well. So I encourage anyone who's listening to this, if you haven't read that draft plan yet, please do. There's a lot of good information there, a lot of good work that went into that. And I do want to thank you for having all of these items on the agenda. I really appreciate that as well. Thank you.
I have a hot.
We get Jennifer. Jennifer?
I have something about this.
The same thing.
No, you're muted.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Got it?
Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer Danzig, 38 Pulpit Rock Road. So yeah, I want to speak to the open town meeting, just following up on what Grace said and also what Teresa said with respect to the comprehensive plan. I will say the one at the Raymond Fire Safety Building was standing room only. And I will also say with comprehensive plan, there were multiple things happening. So you could go online, you could go in person, there were multiple in-persons, and there was various attendance at both. So I'm not sure that citing that one meeting where there was 4 of us there is an appropriate analogy, just in that respect with comprehensive plan. Also, I will say that in my experience doing the solar, as you know, I got about 500 signatures, talked to everybody all over town, knocking on doors, and anecdotally what came up was that people don't understand the issues. And the reason that we got into solar was I didn't understand what I was voting for. You know, I've never been anti-solar, as I said in previous meetings, and on our solar ordinance, I thought that what I was voting on, right, was different than what it actually was. And part of that could be the fact that the legalese, you know, when we're reading through these documents, it's not always easy. And even going through the policy and procedure manual that we've just done the last couple of hours, you know, people need clarifications on things because they're like, does that say what I think it says, or does that say what I think it says? The other thing that came up is I was at 2 elections, you know, at my little booth getting signatures or informing people about solar. And what came up there was that people didn't know that once they got into the voting booth, if they didn't understand what was on the warrant, that the information was there available, that they could read it then. So if people didn't know that they had to research all the detail prior to voting at the election, if they didn't know that once they got there they could access that, or even if they did read it and the legalese was so confusing that they didn't really understand what it was and there was nobody available to sort of clarify what it actually meant. You know, most of us are not attorneys, so we don't know what that means. So I would say from that perspective, and from the perspective, again, talking with over 500 people with the signatures, talking to even more at both of those elections where I was sitting and had a table, that people really do want information. They're just really busy. And I'm not sure that they have the space and time to be able to attend everything, right? You know, there was a period I was very involved in Raymond, and then there was a period that I was raising my family. And now I'm about to become an empty nester, and the solar sort of brought me back into Raymond. And that could be partially a compliment to you guys as well, because you do such a great job. We sort of go on autopilot until we find out something's upsetting to us, and then we need to react. But having the open town meeting would alleviate all of that, because we would get sort of back to, I remember when we were a caucus state, you know, for politics, and I've always been an independent, but to caucus, I had to declare, right, who I wanted to caucus with. And I just remember that so clearly, that the fun of caucusing or the fun of town meeting is getting to know your neighbors and is getting to know what they think and how they feel and different ideas and getting clarification and building community and then coming together on a community vision, kind of like we did with the comprehensive plan. So again, all anecdotal, personal experience, etc. But I think, you know, we're done with COVID. We're all craving community. We're talking about a community center. We all care about what's happening in our government, whether it's national or local. Our involvement may not highlight how much we care about that, but I think that it's time to try and give open town meetings a try again. So that's just my 2 cents. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So I guess I'm more asking maybe the logistics of it, but why can we not do a hybrid of that as have a town meeting prior to, so we can discuss, do everything that we need to do, community, all that, and then actually have the vote like we normally do at secret ballot? Because there's a bunch of different reasons I think that, you know, if you can't make that, or if you're raising your hand and your neighbor's so hard against it and you have your little yellow card and maybe you're not going to vote or you don't show up because of that, at least secret ballot gets the people that don't want to be out there in the front of it to actually vote and show up and do something, but you also get the community sense of discussion and people can figure it out. The third part about that is I think it's a little bit of a cop-out when we say we go there and we don't know what we're voting on or don't know where to go. We can easily help that aspect of it by telling the people when you get your card that there is, if you have any questions on that. I don't know if they do that now, but I know that's how I figured it out when I first moved to Raymond, is that Sukar had a spot that had all the stuff that you could research right there. It had all the pages and pages of ordinance changes and things like that, so you could research it if you showed up there and didn't do your due diligence. There was a place to do that. So I think you could kind of kill both of these issues with one if you can. I don't know if it's feasible, but why can we not have the town meeting but actually vote at secret ballot? Is that?
That's the public hearing that we had
That's what I mean, public
beforehand.
hearing.
We always have one. And,
I realize,
yeah.
but we got to show up if we.
Well, exactly.
So
it's like we're going to show up to the. We're not going to show up to the public meeting that we have now, but we're going to show
Yes.
up to have a public meeting that we're going to vote.
Well, there's
in front on. I
so
just don't know how that's going to actually happen.
From a logistics standpoint, that can't work, and the reason it can't work is in an open town meeting, an article can be changed. If it's changed, then it does not match what's on the ballot, and therefore, people are voting on two different things.
Right, but they can be changed at the meeting, at the open town meeting?
Yes.
So it's a good idea, but it's not
within
legal.
certain limitations.
Yeah, and that happens often?
But I would add this, if we put on the
That's even
warrant.
scarier, in my opinion.
If we put on the warrants, that it would be there would be a warrant to decide once and for all, are we going to do secret ballot or open town meetings? Some of those 600 people that came in to vote would also show up to vote to go to secret ballot. It wouldn't be 5 of us deciding, it would be the town deciding. And that's what I've said from the very beginning. And at that stage, we would truly know if the energy, how many showed up. Because I got to tell you, when I tried to get the public safety building built, there were hundreds of people there. And you could tell the difference with.
What do you mean by us 5 people deciding? We're not. We take it to vote.
So I'm saying if we went to an annual town meeting and in there was a warrant to discuss on going to a secret ballot vote from that point on.
Okay.
Instead of us deciding tonight, that would be the citizens deciding, not us 5. Anyway, Peter's probably going to give me more information than I just gave you.
Yeah, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. What I'd basically say is this, in a nutshell. This is a microcosm of town meeting. And by that I mean there are maybe a dozen people here at this select board meeting. And but what I've heard is at least 1 selectman and at least 3 concerned citizens advocating for an open town meeting. I would ask, where are the proponents of the ballot? Can I just have a show of hands? So what I'm hearing is that like previous select board meetings, it's the selectmen that are deciding this. And if there's representation and it's only 4 people, the concern is that, well, that's not really democracy, because you could just get 4 friends together and you could pass all sorts of things. But my guess would be that those 4 individuals would be very knowledgeable and informed about what's going on and the warrant articles. Just like my sense is everyone here is pretty well informed about what's going on in the town. And what is better, to have a smaller participation of informed voters in the community, or to just have what is, in my sense, my experience, a ballot in which someone comes out to vote, primarily because they have 1 or maybe 2 agenda items on the ballot, and feel compelled to exercise their democratic right, and so they just check off the boxes. And I don't know that that's really democracy. I believe that Thomas Jefferson said that the town meeting is the purest form of democracy that you can have. We're talking about community and establishing community. Nothing establishes community more than having neighbors come together, ask questions, give their various thoughts, and have an exchange, and then vote on it. Up or down, one way or the other, the majority of the votes there carry it. I know that state law requires that if you have the open meeting format, you must be present. So we're leaving people out. If someone's housebound, and correct me if I'm wrong, register of voters, but I believe there is no absentee ballot in an open meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you. So I guess the question is, are we leaving those individuals out? So I will make this very brief, and I think my wife touched on a few of them, but what could we do to increase attendance? We could offer childcare on the site. We could provide transportation for elderly and mobility challenged individuals that are so inclined to attend because they're knowledgeable or they have questions. We could schedule the meeting on weekends. We could hold regularly scheduled special town meetings like some towns do. And what they do is they narrow the focus of the meetings, such that special town meeting, we're going to talk about the budget items. 3 months later, special town meeting, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about ordinance changes. Narrow the focus, shorten the meeting, but concentrate on getting information focused just on that particular special town meeting in place. Increase communications. Get it out early and often in as many sources of media as possible to encourage people to attend. And lastly, what gets people to attend anything, whether it was the comprehensive plan in which the Zoom speaker was saying, oh, yeah, we got a room full of people. Well, you know why? Because it was a controversial issue. So are there controversial issues in town? Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'd say not feeling safe to walk outside my house and down my country road with my grandchild, that should get a few people out. Thank you.
So that was just my opinion, and Peter definitely does not agree with it, but you know what, and again, Stu has the statistics here on public meetings and public hearings and...
Or on elections and town meetings. The last time I have statistics on having a Saturday town meeting, 237 people came out. That's 5.5% of the population at that point in time.
And when was that?
That was in 2003.
2003.
And then we went to the Tuesday night ones.
Yeah. And the last...
Up to about 50.
Well, because there's soccer, there's baseball, there's dance.
2019 was the last open town meeting we had. 77 came out. That was less than 2% of the voters on the voter list and 1.74% of the population at the time. The prior, in 2018, 50 people came. In 2017, 60. In 2016, 72. 15, whoops, there it is, I went by it, was a Wednesday night, and that was 63.
What was the meeting where there was 15?
I think what Teresa was referring to were the
Hearings.
RSU meetings
Yes.
at the school.
At the school.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I was wondering what the issue was that no one wanted to show up for. That's why.
No, and their budget, I know before, and I haven't been to, one of the meetings in a while.
Pardon?
Do you have the poll numbers too?
I do.
Sorry, keep on.
So,
Just letting her
What-
multitask while you do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 9
No,
o'clock.
I'm just saying that there's not a lot of people there, and people comment on that too. Like, you only have so many people that show up for a huge budget, but again, it's got to get people out to it.
So in June of '24, for the ballot that was done for the annual town meeting, 799 ballots were cast for that, for our warrant. And of that, let me skip down past the candidates. At the beginning of the ballot, only 32 left them blank, but generally it tends to widen as we go down to the bottom.
I remember seeing a lot of blanks left on the warrants.
And by the time you get down to the ordinance changes, 122 were left blank
Yeah.
So
out
five-
of that. But
no
still,
knowledge.
that's still 500 people as opposed to 70 people. And that's the argument. I can argue this one on both sides without any problem. There are merits to having more people see the information and be able to decide. There are also merits on having discussion, and there's nothing I like better than community and drawing anything into a community setting. I think we're missing that in our society.
I agree with that 100%.
I would say.
I just think that people really need to do a little bit of the work too. They need to, either way we do it, they need to show up or they need to research it. Because like Peter said, if you go and vote and you have zero clue and you're filling in dots, you're doing just as bad as if you don't show up. But you can, and then if you stack a room because you want something to go past, you just call up a bunch of people and nobody else really cares, it's not that big a deal, and then nobody shows up, then you get stuff passed that way. It's like, there's good and bad to both of them.
Yes, there is.
It's just,
There is.
when the turnout is 10 times, it's usually better percentages of how the community and the people feel when it's that big of a difference, I think. It's just beforehand we got to do a better job of being able to communicate, have open dialogue, clear communication on what's going on to the ballot.
More
that they're
public
actually voting
hearings. And have
Whatever
maybe
it is, I
have,
don't know.
Bob O'Neill. Is it Bob O'Neill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done both either, so.
Well, Bob O'Neill, have him come and explain during the public hearings to be able to, I'm sorry. I didn't mean-
For the ordinance change.
For the ordinance changes, and we can have 2 public hearings. We can.
Well, and I did add an extra public hearing because it was requested at one of your meetings to the schedule.
I don't see the harm in letting, if it's 75 people who would rather be secret ballot voting than an annual town meeting, that would be 70 people deciding, if 50, and certainly if people knew they were going to have an opportunity to end the annual town meeting and have this secret ballot vote without a lot of information. In my opinion, there was a lot of blanks, and we heard, standing out there at the polls, people coming out saying those were some of the most confusing ordinance or articles I've seen.
But they could have showed up.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a cop-out for those people that say that.
Well, I'm not telling you they can or can't. I'm saying let that group of people decide, and they'll show up to vote to go secret ballot instead of 4 or 5 people deciding that. That's all I'm saying. Before you guys decided over COVID, people showed up. No one stood up and said, can we have secret ballot vote? We hate the annual meeting. And I'm saying, if you do it and you say, we're going to look at this, come in if you want to have secret ballot vote, you're going to decide it. Like it says in the ordinance that, in fact, the state law says, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but I read the ordinance, the state law that says that if the select board doesn't have a legitimate reason for an annual town meeting in a town meeting forum, you can do a petition of 10% of the gubernatorial vote and petition them, and they would put that in there because people decided for the group, whether it's 75 or 200. Why don't you let the town people decide once and for all at a town meeting to stop it?
I think it's dangerous to do once and for all.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the whole, you can't do that either, because you're going to have another COVID, or you're going to have another, you have to be able to, you can't once and for all stuff.
Okay, let me take that word out.
Well,
Why don't we let them decide?
I don't agree with that.
Law.
That's an assumption that people don't know what's going on in some of this. And there may be a handful, like there's a certain percentage of people that did not answer questions, on and stuff like that. But there's also could be a big majority that do know the answers to it. And to me, I know I deal with a lot of people in and day out, because what happens is they've got to make their family a priority. And when they're doing that, they're going to dance. They're splitting between, soccer and on the road, sports, and they have family matters and stuff like that. So they're going to pick the family issues. So here, if someone
Over an ordinance change. 100%.
yeah, I literally had a parent
Sucks,
come
but
in
true.
at 7 o'clock, drop off her kids, and turn around and say, I got to go vote because the rest of the day I'm not going to be able to make it. So to me, again, it's an assumption of people not knowing the stuff compared to.
Sounds like we made up our mind.
No, I'm not. I'm just giving you my opinion, and we're debating it just like we did everything else. But to me, I am so open to any kind of hearing. I'm open to any kind of public meeting and getting it out. But the data shows that we get more people on secret ballots because there's more time all day. And we can put big notes up and say, if you don't understand something, here you go. Or if, people need something, as far as, that.
I think this community is just dying to have a community, and I bet you there'd be a great turnout at the annual
So
meeting.
secret ballot just kills
No,
community?
No, I'm saying that for the first time, we're talking about a school that's going to need bonding money. We're definitely going to
But
want
that's
more
not
people
now.
on that. I know it's not that long, but all I'm saying is,
And we're going to vote on it.
then we ought to
You can
just
tell us
vote.
to shut up. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
I just think that we're missing something. I think we're missing something in a small town. I think Thomas Jefferson was right about it. I think that we stopped it as a selectman, not the town meetings, not the people that have been coming in for 100 years.
I don't believe that. And because of that, and people are going to hate me, and whatever, I'm going to make a motion to go with the secret ballot. And we can still have debate.
Okay.
But, so I'm making a motion to stick with that because more people can come and we can educate them as much as we
Secret
can.
ballot, it's called a referendum.
Referendum, so sorry. Everybody else has been calling it a secret ballot.
Well, it's a referendum vote on a secret
ballot, there you go, yes.
To be, if you want to be completely
Right.
technical.
But, I mean, let me just say this before, it's been moved, it hasn't been seconded yet, so I can
Yep, you
still
still
speak
say,
to it. But,
yep.
I mean, I don't have a big objection to doing an open town meeting this year. And let's see where we are. But let me ask a rhetorical question to Peter. Will you be satisfied if 20 people bounce the comprehensive plan?
Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh. He's going to say yeah.
Peter Levitt to Levitt Road, great question, Ralph. What I'd tell you is this. I haven't been satisfied with the turnout since I started on the comprehensive. This experience has taught me is this. Those few people in the community that chose to get engaged in the plan, to me, they're worth their weight in gold as far as where they see this town going, and they are informed. And my question once again would be, does numbers, which equates to participation, really exemplify or negate the fact that there are a small minority, 5%, 2% of the electorate, that actually care enough to come out and vote. And I would say that the numbers are a little skewed because there's a lot of other things going on the ballot on any given election that cause people to come out. And so trying to equate a general election number with a town meeting, open town meeting, isn't really a fair comparison. And I guess lastly, what I just say is this. I think Selectman Sadak is right. I think I'm making a lot of assumptions as far as the knowledge of the electorate on the town warrant. I think she's also making an assumption.
I am.
And
You're right.
that's that a lot of individuals are very informed, that it's just that our lives are so busy that we just can't get away.
Right, I think that's the point on the other side as well. That's why the numbers are different.
Because we're just so busy.
We have a full day on one to be able to vote on something, and we have a small time frame on the other.
But I would tell you that what Jefferson would probably say if he was standing here is, or actually John Adams asked it back during the Continental.
Yeah, but women couldn't even vote then. I mean, you're going back a little too far.
What John Adams asked the Continental Congress was, are you sure you want everybody to vote? Think about that.
Okay.
You definitely have lines.
One more to my thing, though, is you get people out, maybe because they have one or two issues that they know they want to vote on. But because they're there, they're taking a look at other things on the ballots to see more. So they're saying, oh, that interests me, boom. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, Sam's not on that.
If we decide to go to the town meeting, then we have to make a second decision, which we don't have to make, that doesn't have to be made tonight, of what day do we want to have it? Do we want to have it a weekday? Do we want to have it on a weekend? But that's a secondary issue. The first issue is which way do we want to go? And as I say, I don't have a big problem with
dates,
going back and doing it this year as an open town meeting, seeing what we get, and then we have to reevaluate it from there. Because if we end up with next to nobody there, then, in my opinion, at that point, we're doing a disservice by doing that.
I would agree.
I think we have those numbers, though.
Yeah.
Well, I think
We have quite a bit of data that does both ways.
Yeah.
The other problem is you don't have any, I don't see anyone at many of these meetings that's under 45. And there's a big reason is because they are slammed busy either with kids, with, school if they're in college or whatever. And they don't have time to come out to pick a small time frame. It's just, they're never here for that.
So we've got, it was moved, but it was not seconded. Do you want to stay with that?
I do want to stay with it. I'm sorry.
Is there a second on Teresa's motion to have that as a referendum vote?
I'll second that.
Discussion on that. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion fails. Is there a second motion?
I make a motion that we try an annual public open meeting this year, please.
Is there a second? All right, I'll second that. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Oh, we need Sam.
Sam's not there.
Sam's not here.
In that case, both motions fail on the table, which there is no...
So no what?
No, there is no decision at this point, so we'll have to move that decision to the next select board meeting.
I like debating this out. And I hear what you're saying. I do.
Okay, next item, let's see if we can move things along. Next item is update the finance director account status. Sue,
She had to leave.
She had to leave.
She had to leave. So, other than Brenda is continuing to get things updated, we did have a lady start today that's a temp that is going to be working on the reconciliations. And Brenda and I have already started working on the budget worksheets. We've gone over them with the department heads. I still have a few more to update. But we're making good progress, but Brenda has found a lot of things that needed to be tidied up, and she's done just a phenomenal job so far. I wish she was here to hear that.
She's been.
But I've told her that.
Okay, next item is consideration of budget goals and schedule.
And all I did in the proposal was just simply change the years and put in this last year's date. I've just wanted to show you what you had said last year and let you tweak from there, if you feel so led. Last year, you had that first one of maintaining or lowering the tax rate, and because of circumstances beyond the town's control, it went up by almost 2 points anyway.
Bye, Joe. Thanks.
Discussion on the goals.
I think they're pretty straightforward.
How about the schedule? Any known conflicts at this point? I'm sure we'll end up having to do a modification at some point. But
Yeah, because I'll be
we
sending
always do.
Once I put any of your changes in, I'll be sending it to the Budget Finance Committee, and they meet next week.
But
It's straightforward.
any dates that jump out at anybody that are a problem right now? So
Somewhere,
move that along then to
To Budget Finance.
see if they have any conflicts on it. Okay. Biennial appointment of voter registrar.
That is required by statute by January of each odd-numbered year, so we have to do it in December. And I nominate Mel, for sure.
So I make a motion to appoint the Register of Voters. Mel?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
I do have a question. Wasn't Sukar registered for years?
No, she
Okay.
never was.
Okay.
She's been the warden for years.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
She's been the warden.
I was just wondering, that's all. I certainly was in favor.
Yeah, I was the registrar, and before that was Louise Murray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, next item, public comment. Public comment, limited to 27 seconds.
If I
Speak
may,
quickly.
Oh my God, this is like a 5-hour meeting, yeah.
Well, this is
It's
a
good.
huge agenda.
I will try to be fairly brief in my comments tonight. Bruce Tucker, Fire Rescue Chief, 118 Valley Road. We have a couple of vacancies. I haven't had to say that in a long time, but we are working to fill these vacancies. Both of them are paramedic firefighters. Lieutenant Roger Belton has left us to go to other opportunities in another department. And paramedic firefighter Robert Orr is leaving us after 15 years for retirement. Chief Morse asked him to come aboard 15 years ago. He promised he'd give us a year.
Yeah.
After I chatted with him for a while, he said he would give us 3 years. And here we are 15 years later, and the reason why he said he stayed so long is he really liked the progressiveness of our department and how things were run here. But he's reached the end. Doesn't want to set foot in another ambulance again, and Saturday will be his last shift. So we are struggling now to fill those very hard-to-fill positions. Ads have been out, and we've got very few interested at this point in time at current pay rates and et cetera. It just seems to be the way things are. And past that, Engine 31, which is our ladder and a pumper, et cetera, and our front run truck out of Central Station has been out of service probably 9 months out of the last 14 if I add it up. And now we're at the point where we need some considerable ladder work. The pump needs to be torn down and rebuilt. It is a 22-year-old truck. A lot of valves and a lot of sensors and things like that are all of a sudden breaking. The truck is really showing its age and such. So we'll be working on a proposal to take care of that very issue here shortly. We're very fortunate, and I need to mention the town of Naples has given us a loaner truck to run in its place. It is not an optimal truck for our needs. However, it is covering what we need at the moment, I guess, because our other front run truck, if you will, Engine 32, is also out of service. And so thank you to Naples, and we're working with them to try to keep that, maybe budget a little bit of money so we can keep it as a regional truck and plug it in wherever it is needed so that no one's really down on apparatus. But that was the very quick and brief update that I had for you for tonight, and wanted to mention particularly those personnel issues, and that we have 2 people leaving us that are very highly qualified, and it will be hard to fill those positions. So,
Thank you.
Grace Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. Just a couple of really quick things. Coming to you soon is the Wyndham Raymond Adult Education Catalog offerings for the winter and spring. I had an advance copy. I just want to highlight it and encourage people to really take a look at the incredible number of offerings in this program, all sorts of types of offerings, enrichment, academic, adult ed. And also, if you have ideas for other offerings, to contact the director, Tom Nash. If you know of other instructors, if you yourself would like to offer something, contact him and let him be aware of that. It really is amazing all that our school district offers, the folks in both of our towns. Let's see, I also wanted to encourage folks to attend school board meetings as well as the public budget hearing. I believe it's May 14th, but I'll double check on that date, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct it. But the link is right on the town website to the RSU 14 website for dates for school board meetings and where they're located. I would hope that people do get involved and be informed when they are voting. And I just want to thank you for some great discussions this evening. Apologize for having added to the length of time, and hope that everybody gets home very safely, and look forward to further involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. So in reviewing that article on traffic calming that I referred to earlier, I was surprised to come across the information about the Greater Portland Council of Government being facilitating those 3 area communities on the traffic study. And they actually were the ones that facilitated, GPCOG facilitated the $100,000 grant from the feds in order to fund that study. It occurs to me that the taxpayer paid a little over $100,000 for the comprehensive plan committee consultants, which is, it's not a small chunk of change. When we did the 2004 comprehensive plan, we belonged to GPCOG. They bore the brunt of the majority of the data collection, and between them and the town leadership, the plan was formulated at a very nominal fee because we were members. So as I'm reminded that public comment is really a format where future agenda items for leadership at these select board meetings are made. What I would request is that a discussion on Raymond rejoining GPCOG, maybe some history and background as to why we left, and what are the benefits that would, on an annual basis, offset the $50,000 dues required to be a member, of which most of the surrounding communities are. So I just put that out there as a potential for a discussion at a select board meeting. Thanks.
Other public comment? Yeah, crazy. Selectman comment.
I'd just like to take a moment to tell one little story, and that is Bobby Orr, I worked with in Portland. He was one of the first firefighters that took the paramedic course and rode the ambulance back and forth with a different group of people, and he was a different type of person. But he fell in love with Raymond, like many of us do, and his commitment. And I don't know how much sick leave he used. I'm not going to talk about that sort of thing because I have no idea. But he's one of those guys that no matter what happened, he was calm, collective, and professional. And I don't know why firefighters and EMS people do their best work at night, at dark, when no one knows. But he's a gentleman who is a gentleman. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it was a pleasure to hire him and much more of a pleasure to know he lasted 15 years, and this is the last place he'll be doing fire and EMS. So to him, I say thank you.
Other comment? Okay, town manager report.
Oh, shoot.
I was going to say.
Sorry. I've done so much. I accidentally, or not, it was on purpose, restarted my PC and it's updating.
Oh.
So I don't recall the dates, but there's some date in January, some date in February. January 14th, February 11th. I'm so sorry. Thursday, December 19th, we're going to be closing at noon for the town office to have our annual Christmas party. Tuesday, December 24th, we'll be closing at 1 for a Christmas holiday, for people to start a bit early. Other than that, I don't have an update, other than my thanks definitely go out to the Public Works crews who have put in so many long nights, the way the storms are falling right now. If you see them on the road, please give them a good wide berth, make their job easy.
Well, they're going to win, so you pretty much should.
Yeah, you really should anyway.
I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, too.
Well said.
Safe.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.